This is the GPL podcast, part of the Pull Tab Sports family.
Oh boy. Jupe making mistakes. I love it.
Out to center, picked off by Woog. Relayed ahead to Beetlecorn. Centering it. Here's a shot.
Now, here's Jupiter and Vigo. Good evening and welcome to the GPL podcast, episode number 297. Good evening, Vigs. How you doing tonight?
Good evening. Doing well. We're almost through the midway point of the season for the Gophers.
Before we get too far, something that doesn't happen often happened last week.
And I think this is a game the Gophers can win. It's just one game. They can just focus on one game. 3-2 win.
You got me all excited now. I don't know. I'm going to say overtime win. We did something right, Vigs. We did something right.
Yeah, I mean, I picked a win, and then you picked overtime win. I mean, 100% right on your part. You didn't throw out a score, so I'm
I'm not that
a point there. But see, I had one parent come up to me and say, "Hey, show a little confidence for this team after the Penn State series," and they came through against Denver.
They did. Well, we've got a brand new guest tonight, don't we, Vigs? Someone we've never had on before.
Yeah, brand new guest. I don't know if people who have been following the podcast know how much of a fan we have in this guy. He gives us a lot of feedback on how we're doing, and we appreciate it all. Sometimes we get updates from the club room.
And well, let's bring him in. Dan Woog, obviously son of former coach Doug Woog and a Gopher himself. Dan, how you doing, man?
I'm great. I reached out after listening to that last podcast. I listen to you guys religiously week after week, especially when I'm cutting the grass or driving home from work. Catch that one, and I'm asking about the Powerball winners from you. So just throw it out there. But don't anybody else.
Vigs, we don't get it right out often. Obviously, I'm going to flaunt it a little bit when we get the picks right. And it was only one game, too. At least it wasn't a series.
So much easier when it's just one game, right?
It is. It totally is. Well, Vigs, it was a good Saturday night for the Gophers. They obviously they started real well, even though that first period was terrible for them. They got the lead and they didn't break too much in that first period, even though that was 25-5 in shots.
Yeah, and I think we've talked about this over the year. This team needed to have moments like that and not let it impact their game where all of a sudden they're chasing plays, or they're giving away offense to the other team. You need just to bear down, and eventually, things can go your way. You can string a couple shifts together. Tanner Ludke talked about this. He's like, it's not going to be one play that gets us back in this game. It's going to take a couple, and we just got to stick to it. And I think we saw that from the Gophers at Ball Arena. They got outshot 23-5, I think. A lot of that's because of the power play time that DU got, but really just a nice period from Luca Di Pasquo and just a good defensive effort to weather the storm.
And Dan, that's the key there. They weathered the storm, yes, and they couldn't quite get out of the period with the lead, but that shot advantage was totally erased in the second period. It was pretty much even for the rest of the game.
Yeah, and that's generally when you're on the road, you're trying to weather the storm. Originally, the full energy, excitement for the home team, the Friday night start. They're trying to feed off the crowd. I know this was a different arena; it wasn't DU arena, but sometimes you have to weather that. Again, as you guys all talk about, this league is very, very competitive. Anybody can win any given night, and if you get hot goaltending, which they had, it could have been a different game otherwise.
It was quite the Luca performance, Figs, especially in that first period. It could have been 4-1, 5-1. The rest of the night, you could tell they tried to change their strategy by putting a lot more traffic in front of the net to make it difficult for Luka.
Yeah, I mean, it was a point of emphasis for both teams, I think, is to get traffic to the net. You get through that first period and really need some greasy goals to get going. And I think we saw both teams get to that part of their game. And I think the other part that was good for Minnesota long term, they lost Leo Gruba in the first period, and they'll be missing him for the Ohio State series here coming up. Losing him is a big impact for the Gopher defense. It allowed Jacob Rombach a little bit more opportunity, John Whipple a little bit more of an opportunity to play, and I think those players delivered a good game.
Now, I was just going to mention too, part of that, what they were getting, Pritchard's goal, little puck luck finally, right? The exact, Moore shoots it from the bad angle, shoots it on purpose, low towards the middle right side of the net, pops out right on Pritchard's stick, right? Yeah. And have a little puck luck like that is huge. And I was going to mention that too, Viggs, is, you see all the time, whether it's with the Wild, it's that net front presence, right? And the guys that are willing to stand there, take the abuse. Hendrickson's not afraid. Jimmy Clark's smart. He knows that's a good spot to go. Lamb does that. Eriksson Ek does it constantly with the Wild. And it creates a problem for the goalie's vision, right? And then they're trying to figure out how to move, where to move. And whether it's a cross ice from, Zuccarello to Krill or Mooney to, Lamb, whoever it is. I mean, it causes problems with that guy in front of the net. You almost wish there was a stat for that. Every time you score when somebody in front of the net, and maybe there is that I'm not aware of.
well, Viggs, they were only 50% on the kill. They gave up one goal, but you know what? There was only 2 power plays.
Luckily for them.
Yeah. Luckily for them, there was only 2 power plays, but it's hard to improve your numbers if you're not in the box as well. But you have some videos here that I want to bring up and play that the two, just a little segment of each power player. And can you kind of describe what we've got going on here?
Well, I think what's really been impacting the Gopher penalty kill this year is the plays at the top of the zone. And where Gophers are getting trouble is they'll start sliding across, and you'll have 2 players try to do the same job. As you look, 2 players there try to stop the shot at the top of the point, leaving a flank wide open. And this is something that's been happening over again a lot. Here we see Ludke. He's the player in position to come block the shot. Lamb needs to fall back here and take away some of the shooting lanes from the flank and get to the net. And you see here, they both go to the middle, flanks wide open. Very difficult save for a goaltender. They get lucky here. The player misses the wide open net, but that's been something that's been happening in the Gopher penalty kill quite a bit. Miscommunications at the top. Your traditional penalty kill, you've got your box, you've got your diamond, and you've got your triangle +1. And figuring out when you go to that triangle +1, who is staying with the shooter and who's falling back to the net, who's covering the flanks with the shot blocking, that's the communication that has to happen.
And part of it gets complicated a little bit, and which is a good thing to do when you're on the offensive side and the power play, is to keep that movement, rotation of it might be a 2-2-1 or whatever, 1-3-1, whatever they're doing on the power play. But then, you see it, they're always trying to move a little bit to create that shooting lane too. And guys just snap it. If they can get through the net, it's again, net front presence that causes a problem, but it's a rotation too. And like you said, Biggs, is all of a sudden that shooting lane's wide open, right? Mm-hmm. There's nobody able to center up on that when we're not adjusting properly.
And in this second video, Biggs, it cost them.
Yeah, Denver's power play has been deadly all year. We see kind of a similar situation where we have 2 players here getting out of position, both going to the shot, leaving that wide open lane across, and nobody there to block the shot. That's been something we asked the players, what needs to change. You got to get sticks in lanes to stop the pass, or you've got to take away the shooting lane and take away those shots, because it's a lot to ask a goaltender to be moving all the way across back and forth on these without help from his teammates, because he's looking through traffic here trying to face this shooter. It's hard for him to cover this shooter and the one on the backside, especially as he dives behind, and we've got 2 guys going to the shooter right there.
Yeah, so you can say when the pass came across, and you could see it clearly that they just both turned that way, And,
And unfortunately, again, this is Paulson and Lamb, two players we've been talking about having some issues here on the PK. It's one part of this team that's really got to change. We've been asking Bob about this the last couple of weeks, what the changes here. And he's like, one game, it's really good for us. And then the next, it's bad again. And it's just too inconsistent. And, he said, we're just going to sprint here to the midway point. And when we get back to the second half, there might be some personnel changes out there.
And sometimes part of the strategy on penalty killers is if you're having problems, is you're trying to force them to go one direction a little bit. If they go from the top and then it starts going sideboards, that top guy can come at a little bit of a loop. So trying to avoid that pass back to the middle of the ice, danger area. Again, there's a lot of rotation that has to go on. And again, I think it's going to get better. I know it's going to get better. I think Steve Miller is as good or smarter probably than all of us. So it'll get better, and these guys are going to grow.
I do think Brody Lamb had a great weekend. Offensively, 5-on-5 on the power play. Like, he has attributes to his game where he's really making a positive contribution. It's just been on this PK. Maybe it's just not his feel, and maybe it can be simplifying for him in the second half of the season if they distribute this ice time to somebody else who can totally focus on their 5-on-5 play and their penalty kill, and allow Brody Lamb to focus on power play and 5-on-5. Because I think we've seen the last couple games, Lamb has been a lot more consistent about driving the net, sometimes being that sacrifice on rush chances, pushing the D back into the crease, creating space for passes, and then being there for chaos on rebounds. I think that's really the strength of his game.
Well, we're going to take a look at some of the goals here in a second. But for those of you listening to the podcast, we highly recommend go to our YouTube channel. You could watch us, and then you could see these videos and these demonstrations we're doing. We've been trying to expand more into the video. Obviously, we've been videoing for a while, but now it's not just listening. You got to watch some of the stuff, right?
Right. I'm not quite the play-by-play guy, Wally Shaver, so I'm doing the best I can here in my video breakdowns for everyone.
But aren't you doing this video for the junior or squirts and stuff you're coaching?
Yeah, a little bit. Yep.
Well, we'll kind of walk us through here. Here's that first goal, Vigs. Obviously, just not a great place for the goalie to put the puck there.
Not a great place, but good place for Tate Pritchard
to
drive the far post. You always talk about that on the rush. You want a player driving the far post. Pritchard's there. He's ready for it too. His stick's down, so he's ready to pounce on the rebound, and a great goal for the Gophers.
Another advantage to driving that far post and getting to the net, whether it's the center drive or the wing, is if you need to chip it down low to keep the play going, you got guys going forward. The other guys are on their heels on the defensive side.
Yeah, it worked out pretty well for him there. And then we've got what's the second goal here? It's going to come up here. Oh, is this the one where Lamb holds on to it like you were talking about, Veeks? They went to the net. Look, there's the chance right there for you.
Yep, Jimmy Clark's driving the net on this goal. Great play by him. He's been a player who's sacrificing himself. Beckett's holding on pucks a little bit more. You talk about teammates, they're making plays that way.
And this is where, Denver probably made a mistake. It's 3-on-3, and they just left him alone at the top. The players going in, 2 guys took out 3 guys.
Yep. They didn't adjust over to Jimmy Clark because Jimmy Clark went towards the defense first, so he kind of had to honor him a little bit. And then Jimmy went to the other D and went to the net there.
And I believe this is Zemer's goal with a nice drop by Lamb there. Viggs, we've seen so many drop passes not go so well in a lot of years here. That's when it actually worked out pretty well.
Yeah, sometimes you have those fancy pants players so they can pull out the fancy pants plays. One thing about this power play is the rush up the ice wasn't smooth. Usually you see that second guy on the drop passes, they come up in the neutral zone, has kind of a clean entry. Denver does a really good job here of putting pressure at the red line and through the blue line. And it's a complicated play to gain the zone with possession. So I think kudos to the Gopher power play, which has really picked it up the last couple of weeks. I think the last 7 games, I heard Wally say they're clicking about 30+%, which is pretty good for a power play in college hockey.
They're in the 20s, like 23rd or something like that. So they've gone up pretty quickly here.
They count on the rush just like they do in zone setup, right?
They do. They certainly do. And then we know that Denver comes back in a strong third period, Vigs. But Minnesota, what a play by Hendrickson behind the net there.
Just
Finding
really
Clark.
good puck protection. I think that's what you're looking for out of Beckett and Javon. Two big forwards who can buy time for their teammates to find space. And really nice job by Jimmy Clark kind of disappearing up high here away from the front of the net, letting Brody Lamb get all that attention, and then just reading the space to fall into, and a great backhand pass by Beckett through the crease, just right on the money.
One of the angles you could see Beckett looking before he's starting to make that play.
He was
to that weak side.
Yeah, you really want your power forward scanning the ice in those situations. The more pictures they can take of the zone, the better.
And then, we've got another power play goal here, Vigs. Gophers were 2 for 2 that night. That assist right there by Brody Zemer, I think that should have been the assist of the week. They gave it to Beckett, from the University of Minnesota, what they thought. But, 74 here. Wow.
Yeah, Brody Zemer can be a special player. He's got some vision, some skill, some grit, some battle. This one's a little bit of luck as well. As he slips it right through the Denver defense. I think this is going between the legs on the pass and just finds LJ in the right spot. Again, a player ready to make his own luck.
And he knew, he knew LJ was going to be on that side. So it wasn't just, a giveaway pass, right? He knew it, just happened to make it through this time.
So they didn't quite weather the storm, Vigs. Denver comes back, gets a goal with 23 seconds left, tie it up, are dominating overtime until Mr. Moore here by himself. The only shot of the overtime gets the winner.
Drop pass, nice move there by Moore. Shot, score, and he wins it. Javon Moore. Gophers win it in overtime. Play by the freshman Javon Moore. He makes a little dipsy-do at the blue line, comes in, and he's able to beat Miller to the short side.
So, Vigs, number one, there were a lot of Gopher fans there. That was a nice pop in overtime, wasn't it?
Yeah, good travel by the Gophers on Black Friday weekend. Get out to Denver and celebrate with the team. I talked to Javon this week about that goal. He's very excited, and he feels very good about himself going the second half. And I think if Minnesota is going to go places the fans want them to go, Javon's got to be a part of that. He's had a little bit of a slow start this year, but he says, he's trying to hold on to pucks a little bit more, make better plays, and use his shot. We talked to Jack Ramsey about Javon earlier in the year, and he said, this guy can shoot the puck, and he just has to find the right times to do that. Javon had an earlier rush in the OT where a shot got blocked. This one, he made a nice move, found some space, and was able to execute.
Don't call me Oliver, right?
Well, Dan, we're having you on because it's going to be the 6th year since your father passing away. Obviously, beloved among all Gopher fans and hockey fans. So I'm glad you would come on this week. I do believe the date is December 12th.
14th. Yep.
14th. Sorry, my mistake. 14th.
I don't know if that was you or somebody else said that the same day.
It is. It is
Glenn
the
Sonmore
same.
passed away or something.
Yeah, the exact same day, but Glenn passed away in 2015.
Okay.
2 Gopher coaches. Obviously, a lot of us don't know much about Glenn as a Gopher coach. That was before we were born or around that time. But then, obviously as North Star coach, that's where I first remember Glenn, and then him on the radio, and then your dad on TV and your dad everywhere else. Vigs, it's just, what are the chances that 2 kind of icons died on the same day, just years apart? It's just strange.
Yeah. And for me, both of them probably shaped some of my youth. I would always listen to Gopher radio post games with my dad on the ride home. We'd walk back to the ramp and we'd hustle to get back so we could listen to Glenn, pick his 3 stars of the game all the time.
He was a homer.
I remember going to a skating camp at St. Louis Park Rec Center, and Sonmore would come in there and, give all the kids a head rub and stuff and talk to them and stuff. And he was quite the personality. And same with Doug, just growing up listening to his game calls on MSC and all that. Remembering him on the bench when I was a little kid, standing on the bench to watch Pat Nicoletti go on his breakaways as he floated in the neutral zone.
Floated. Oh, you're gonna say that to his face when he's on the pod?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
So, well, two great people.
Well, thank you. It's very nice of you, and we appreciate that. And it's those are things that take away some of the sting. Still, all these great memories. And I got a guy delivering a package to the house the other day, and he's telling me about when he met my dad. I mean, this is 6 years later almost, and he's like, he kind of put the name on the package, like, "Oh, are you so and so?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Your dad, I was at the Moments. That's where the senior housing or memory care unit was down in the south side of Buck Hill. That's where he was." And I mean, he had so many visitors. It was unbelievable. We're very thankful for all that. But he said, "Yeah, your dad tapped me on the shoulder and said, hey, can you help me put my shoe back on?" The guy had no idea. He goes, "Okay." And then he figures out who it was. He tells me about it the other day. He goes, "Your dad was so nice to me," he said. And it just one thing after another. And again, we feel very lucky. But that was kind of his personality. I think it was very outgoing. Very, I don't know if energetic's the right word, but got fired up a few times, and might have grabbed his tie once and did that for the referees once, and down in Madison.
Oh, I remember that. I have a story. My friend Jen and I went up to Grand Forks when he would be calling TV, and it was a Gopher sweep that weekend, somewhere in the mid 2000s. So it turned out well. So we go to Sugar's. That was one of the hotel bars. Who comes in was your dad. We're like, well, we got to get a picture with the Wooger. And he knew us because we had seen him up at Suite 5 after games a couple times. Very cheap. And we got pictures with him. This one right here. Look at this. Look at this fine picture. There we go. I had some grays, but I always keep that one out here because we've got podcasts. I get the Wooger with me. So he knew that we had a digital camera. And he runs into some old buddies at the bar. And he comes back over to Jen. He says, "Hey, can you take a picture of my friends and I?" So she gets them into groups, gets them all lined up, takes a picture. And then she looks at it. She goes, "Wooger, you got 3 inches on these guys." Referring to, he was actually taller than all his buddies. "You got 3 inches on these guys." And he pokes his buddy and says, she didn't say where.
Pretty witty.
And, that's my Wooger story on the road. I will. There are others, but we can't say all the others. So,
yeah, I think most of his players really enjoyed playing for him. Honestly, I think he had a good balance between, and I had that also in juniors with like a Mike Gensel and Tommy Ward. But they knew it when it's time to get busy and focus. But there's also a lot of laughter. A lot of fun. You want to be at the rink. You don't want to be, crabbing about things. And so it's we might have had of age guys might have had a beer on the bus on the way back from a sweep in Duluth, but he didn't have anything to do with it. But I'm sure he probably knew about it, but we're of age. So especially me, I was really of age throughout this process, but I appreciate it. Thanks. And it feels good to hear, even more good stories. And I know, we all miss him, and I know his grandkids miss him, and we've got, 7 granddaughters and 1 grandson. So if you needed somebody in crunch time, that was me. The last grandkid was a boy, Jake, named after his dad. So, and Jake and Wanda, his folks were at, every game they could go to, and they were even in East Lansing when we won in the playoffs, and they kept the Burger King open. The lights were just closed up. They were in there celebrating our trip to the Frozen Four that year, but they had them reopen it, and they were dancing on tables, and they were just having a great time, and 70s, 80 years old.
Well, we'll always keep the Woogisms page up on GPL with stories that people have told us that they've heard over the years. Quotes from when he was on the air and he said something on the air.
Probably not appropriate always.
Well, you know how it is, but people can always go to GPL and see these. I actually love this photo right here. I took that of him when he was doing one of those post-game on ice things a couple years back, or Actually, it was with Gorg, and he made
Yeah.
Gorg look really bad as a goalie on the ice. So
So I loved how they used to do that, and they take that
Oh, yeah.
time, a little pregame stuff, but then whether it's in between periods or post game, and I think it's a chance for others that maybe aren't as exposed to the game as much to maybe learn some little parts of the game, and hopefully that would help somebody else. I think that's always in his mind as a past educator and geography teacher, and it was really education first and foremost, and teaching. And even when he got invited to coach for the North Stars by Pierre Page, leaving the University of Minnesota, and he turned that down. He's like, no, I like working with the amateurs, and so a lot of giving back, and we're continuing to do that as much as we can now with a couple scholarships. And that was my quick change. That's my Gruba hat.
Yeah, I love the Gruba hat.
Leo, get better soon, right? So yeah, we've got scholarships for Luke Middlestat and Leo Gruba with our Woog Scholarship Fund, Endowment Fund. So it feels good. There are a lot of great young men out there, and it feels good to help them and see where they go.
One of the Woogisms that actually Frank Mazzacco talked about during his first retirement party down at Tom Reed's was talking about the World Juniors. And back in those days, I used to record all the games and digitize them and, put out some highlights until I got in trouble from Fox. But I did capture the audio that Frank loves to talk about. And here it is.
It's a lot better to fly from Vancouver than it is from Novosibirsk, I'll tell you. And the Novosibirsk is just on the eastern part of the Urals, folks. So
obviously misspoke when he said urinals, but that's why we love the Wooger right there.
Part of me wonders, is that a little tongue in cheek, or was it a misspeak? So
that's just
you never know with the Wooger. I
never know. Oh, and then I captured another one that happened. We all remember the famous 3-game series in Mankato when they ended up 3 overtime games. But Wooger did drop this during one of those games.
everybody in the building standing except people in a wheelchair. Everybody's up.
People.
That's a
really
great
paints the scene. Yeah.
People should go to your page. People should go there and read some of those. There's some great stories behind there. The whole North Dakota one, when you're pulling up on the bus and they're throwing snowballs at your bus, and and he's saying he'd pay you for that sign, that Gopher sign, because it's misspelled. And send the guy $25, but it's like $3 really, and the guy complains about it. So
that story's in there. That story's on the page.
More accurate in there than it is out of my mouth. But
so right before the broadcast here, I saw Gopher Game Notes posted some stats on you, Dan.
That's been a short clip.
One of them is this: you're one of 6 Gophers to score your first goal in overtime. Jim Carter, Tom Vanelli, Russ Anderson, Dean Williamson, Dan Woog, and Jake Peranto are the only Gophers to ever score in overtime. It was part of our opening clip was your goal in overtime. I've got the full video here. I'm going to play that. But not just you, but if some people watch towards the end when they're doing the rouser, you might recognize a current GPLer. Let me see if you can figure out who it is.
3:12 in the overtime. Mrozik out to center, picked off by Woog. Relayed ahead to Feeblecorn. Centering it. Here's a shot. What a beautiful goal! And the Gophers win! Boy, those South St. Paul boys know how to put it in the net in overtime. Danny Woog, 3-2 Minnesota.
Oh, what a goal was it? It was the presence of his mind to hold on to that puck, as we're going to see it again, but watch some of the jubilation that takes place as the Gophers have won in overtime. Frank, you just mentioned they had 2 big victories. Now they've made 3. It's been the unsung heroes that have come through in the overtime. And Danny Woog scoring perhaps what could be his most memorable goal of his career as he puts it in the top shelf. A big victory for the Gophers as they go on to win and get 2 important points in those WCHA standings. His first goal of the season.
And career for the freshman. And you don't think Papa's happy?
So there's your career first goal, the overtime goal. And if you guys didn't recognize that last kind of fan shot there, Sean Sullivan, Gray Eagle himself, many, many years ago with his wife there. I think Gray Eagle's going to be retiring here soon from but he's been a GPLer since everything began. So it was, I saw that video. I'm like, I couldn't believe how I spotted him because it was definitely him and his wife. So you had the first, one of 6 Gophers to score your first goal as an overtime goal. But then look at Gopher Game Notes also puts out that most assists on other players' first Gopher goals. You're tied for second with 6 assists on Gopher's first goals. You assisted Dave Larson's first goal, Casey Hankinson, Jay Mosier, Eric Rasmussen, Mike Lyons, and Dave Spihar. It's hard to read it. It's small. Yes, I know, but
I like all these goals against North Dakota.
have 3 of them. And we thank Gopher Game Notes. He put this out right before our show started, so I had to make sure to get this on here. That's a lot. I mean, Hank, Rasmussen, Spihar, wow.
You'd think I was on the first line or something.
What, you weren't?
I'm sure I was a 4th shift up if we didn't get any power plays against us. But no, these are all great guys. And the first one on the list, Dave Larson there. It's a great story because he's a South St. Paul guy, just like I grew up too. We played youth hockey together, but our dads played youth hockey together in South St. Paul. And then they ended up, Dave and I, Larson, he had like 3 overtime winners or something in college. I mean, he had the hot stick in overtime. Mm-hmm. But he ended up, we played junior hockey together at the St. Paul Vulcans and then the U, and our dads played at the U together also. So it was kind of a pretty awesome opportunity that we, all got to participate in, and great family. And, just kind of like you guys, everybody's got to have a nickname. His dad's was Book, mine's Boomer, from the old days, but those are great memories. And I love those clips. Actually, I see those on YouTube, when if I was traveling for work and I'm in a hotel or something, I just pull up the YouTube and my dad's sister, Hetty, way back in the MSC days, especially, and then Fox, took those VCR tapes and she cut out all my shifts and put all this into one and then put it on a disc. I had all these discs. I mean, the hours and hours and hours that she spent, it may sound egotistical, but it's probably one of the best gifts I've ever received. And partly because I say, God, I wasn't very good, or that was a dumb play, or wow, that looked like I scored my 16th goal of the season. No, that was number 1, But pretty awesome. Great memories. Very, very fortunate. Again, I'm sure the goalie had no clue where I was going because I didn't either.
There's no book on you, right?
No.
Mary Chimene, he wants to bring back the Bumblebee jerseys. Did you like those Bumblebees?
I didn't really care. I mean, some of the kids and guys get into that these days. To me, I don't know. As long as it's got the M or the Minnesota name on it, that's all that meant to me, or the Gopher sign. And from the old rink, because I'm old enough that I played a game in the old Mariucci with all the light coming in one side, right, and the slanted yellow ceiling on the other. And we'd skate on Sundays when we were little kids. We'd go out there and have some open ice, and that was when Dean Talifas was around and some old names that were on the original coaching staff. And there's been so many good ones that have come through there with again, Mike Gensel is one of my all-time favorites. Super intense, but also a big kid. We'd have him for our Vulcans. And sorry if I'm getting off track here, but
No, you're great.
When Stan Hubbard, Channel 5 News owners, they owned the St. Paul Vulcans junior team, and Dad coached there in the early to mid 70s. So that's when we were born. He was actually coaching there, and he had a great story. Some of his teammates told me about too, or players told me about. And so there was Frank Serratori was one of his goalies, and Mark Mazzolini. And Mark Mazzolini, he's uptight about everything, probably what's on his dinner plate, whatever it is. He's, a great coach, great hockey mind. You couldn't relax around him, but great hockey coach. And so they were in the national tournament, and they were stacked. Rusty Welch's team, who's ended up being my high school coach at South St. Paul from Hastings. He's telling us about, your dad got wind in the third or late in the second period. They were up 9-0 in a national tournament. So they are just stomping on somebody. And they listen, they hear coming down the end of the bench, the goalies, Sartori, Mazzolini, chirping at each other. And they find out that it was going to be somebody had to buy dinner. The other one who lost the bet, whoever got the first shutout. Well, it was going pretty darn good at that time for one of the goaltenders. I don't remember which one. But as soon as my dad got wind of it as a coach, next shift, that whistle blows, next shift up, 4 guys, you go out. Well, he's like, hey, coach, we need another guy. Nope, we don't. They don't score. 3 guys go out. Coach, we're short 2 guys. No, we're good. We're good. they got down to, I think, 2 players, and the team finally scored against them to break the shutout. Can you imagine what the parents would do these days?
Oh,
both against average.
Wow.
But, a lot of great memories, and again, very thankful. And I don't know if you guys, sometimes you guys are talking about the junior hockey, and I was a benefactor of that. I got to play 2 years, and so I was older coming in. And again, it's different because your friends already into college 2 years, 3 years basically, and so when they're out and they got real jobs, you're not there yet. But you know what? If you have this opportunity, to wear that kind of jersey, I'll wait a few years to get on with a real career. But it's the junior hockey is amazing. The competition is crazy good. You got to basically play 2 years to play in Division III now. They don't really want to recruit you otherwise, unless you're a special talent that just doesn't have the desire to play Division I. I've been up to Saskatchewan twice already this year, and I ran into actually Brett Larson at the airport in September. So he was heading up to scout. He's St. Cloud coach. He was heading up to scout at Prince Albert, so north of Saskatoon. So my stepson.
Oh boy, there's nothing up there.
No. Nope. There is a ferry that goes across the water. So we went to one of the games, the Warman Wolverines, a new program that Steps on Hudson plays for. And the Billett family, who he lives with, said, hey, jump in with us. We'll ride to the game over to Humboldt. The whole history of the bus crash and deaths and all that. Mm-hmm. We leave Saskatoon. We go about 20 minutes. All of a sudden, we're going down the hill. Looks like we're going into the river. Nope. Stop there. Wait for the ferry to come over. Pick up 6 cars and go across, and then we get to the game. It just doesn't happen around here.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty amazing. There's so much out there. So many.
But you think, Viggs, Dan playing 2 years in juniors wasn't normal back then.
Not for Minnesota players, really. It seemed like Minnesota didn't have as many junior players as other schools did. What was that process like? How many teammates did you have that played a year or two juniors on the teams you played with?
Not me. I mean, we had Bobby Dustin played before the season. I think maybe one extra year. Dave Larson. There was the Hillman brothers did some junior hockey. Mike McAlpine was another teammate of South St. Paul. Our dads were friends too. He played a year or two at the Gophers, and then after juniors and moved on. The McMorrow kid, his dad, the one from Denver, his dad was my left wing in high school, and then junior hockey together, won national championship together. Guys that were on Duluth, Sitlo, and others too. But no, it wasn't many. I mean, again, Chekos and Crowleys and Trebles, and they weren't all doing it, and it was different too. Now you got that draft, right? And in that day and age, it was the Balkans had first dibs on players from certain teams, so they had the rights to the South St. Paul kids, to some of the Kennedy kids, Chris Markstrom, I don't remember that. Wyzetta, Derek Karlofsky, Edison, where Joe Disick was from, his goalie there, who went to BU. It was quite a bit different now. And again, that was the only main league that was out there, in the United States. So now there's all.
I remember about that time, I went and saw the Ted Brill tournament, where you have a lot of, high school seniors playing an end of the year tournament. And I remember just seeing USHL scouts everywhere there. Because at that time, a lot of players weren't tied to anywhere. And I don't know if a lot of the USHL coaches had seen all these players that were playing in this weekend. And I just remember, being such a Minnesota fan growing up, knew about the USHL. I played in the Mike Foley summer hockey school, and Mike Foley always had tickets to the Vulcans to give away to the player of the day, and we just kind of didn't know. And now it's just like, that's the path.
Mm-hmm.
You have to go and you have to have success there before you advance.
Well, with the Vulcans, we played it. All our home games are Sunday nights, right? So I think that was partially planned for all the college scouts to come in, go to their college games on the weekend, Sunday, watch ours, then fly out because, we're close to the airport and everything versus going to Waterloo or, we played Thunder Bay. They kicked the crap out of us physically. And, but you learn, you do those grinds and you toughen up and you get stronger physically. You got that time to grow and develop mentally as well. We had one game down in North Iowa Huskies down in Mason City, and it was great. We had Tommy Ward and Mike Gensel, our coaches, and, Wardo's down at Shattuck St. Mary's, been there forever now, and he's a staple there and great coach. He was a great baseball player too, but we were winning 5-2 in the game. But at the end of the second period, we got in a little skirmish, me and Dave Larson, another guy, and it wasn't a major fight or anything, but it was enough. We got kicked out. So it was 5-2 going to the third period. We ended up losing in overtime 6-5.
Oh boy.
Yeah, and that didn't make Gensel happy. And everybody started coming off the ice, heads are down and getting to the locker room. And he said, take your skates off. And the guys started taking their helmets off. He goes, no, only your skates. Get in the bus. We're going now. We got back to Augsburg Arena at 1 a.m, and it was a crisp practice. But we were all, the three of us, we were laughing because we'd already showered up and we were going.
Oh boy.
But you learn to hate losing maybe as much as you love winning sometimes.
Yeah.
Kind of get the rewards of it. You can play cribbage and so forth and make some new friends. And it was a great experience. And the Hubbard family now brought that down to Albuquerque, New Mexico. They've got 2 different levels with the NAHL and NA3. And, again, just a passion for the game and for developing people. It's awesome.
All right, Viggs, we need to get to your top 20 here real quick. But before that, we need to talk about Gateway Fiber, Viggs.
Yeah, Minnesota, where the state of hockey and a bad internet connections, like a bad line chain, slows everything down, causes chaos, might even lose the game, especially if you're shorthanded because you had 2 idiots get in a fight and put you down going into the third period. But Gateway Fiber is here to keep your internet skating at full speed. They've been taking on big cable for years and have come to Minnesota offering faster speeds, better reliability, and customer service that doesn't sit in the penalty box. Gateway Fiber isn't just another provider. They're on your team. Visit gatewayfiber.com or call 888-201-4339 to see if Gateway Fiber is available in your area, because life's too short for bad internet.
All righty. Viggs, your top 20 this week. You still have the Badgers up top, don't you?
I do, because those Wolverines are just dirty players, even though they beat Harvard and won in overtime. Wisconsin didn't play. I had Wisconsin ahead. I think they've maybe played a little bit tougher schedule, perhaps. I'm not going to make too much about the Wolverines beating Harvard and going to OT. They did go to OT against the Crimson, so that's probably something they didn't expect to have happen this last weekend. Michigan State also recovered from being swept by Wisconsin. They go and sweep Colgate. Nice weekend for them. I think we've got a big series coming up this weekend with Sparty and the Wolverines. So that should be must-see TV this weekend.
North Dakota, Western, still strong there. Duluth. It's Big Ten and NCHC till number 9 there, Viggs.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't know what to think of the East. Very inconsistent. Quinnipiac goes to overtime with Holy Cross. That's not a very impressive win for them there. And then they play Stonehill. So kind of a down week there for the Bobcats and Rand Pecknold. Northeastern picked up a win against Brown. I like the Huskies, but we'll see what happens. I think the Bean Pot will be crucial for Northeastern to kind of get some momentum this season. But it's just hard to know what to make of ECAC and Hockey East. I listen to the USCHO guys break it down, and they're like, oh, watch out for Dartmouth and watch out for Harvard and watch out for Union. And, I think only one of those teams is going to make the tournament at the end of the year. So I'll be watching out for one of them.
Minnesota State keeps creeping up as well there, Vigs.
Yeah, they've had a good weekend here, sweeping Northern Michigan. We'll see what the CCHA has at the end of the year.
Yeah, it's
If Minnesota State can stay hot, they can maybe get an at-large bid and not have to win the tournament, but they're going to have to play really well. The CCHA didn't have a great out-of-conference schedule this year, so they're kind of leading the pack.
When you got a hot goaltender, you can make it do some damage too. There, that Alex Tracy kid.
Oh.
Yeah, and Luke Strand has a system that really supports good goaltending. They don't have to do a ton; they have to make that initial save, and they have a lot of help. And I think we've seen the Mavericks over the years prop up their goaltenders who can make that big first save.
Anything else you want to talk about, the Colorado College back in there, Miami back in there? Because obviously, we know Miami had a strong start, then faltered a little bit, but now they're back up there for you.
Yeah, they won 2 games at the Friendship 4. RIT, who's a good Atlantic team. Union, who's one of those dangerous teams in the ECAC that UCHO likes to prop up, but they've had a good start. Give their program a lot of credit. They brought in a lot of new players there, and they're trying to change the culture. And we'll see what happens when they get into conference play, because it's not going to be easy for them going forward.
Well, hopefully they're not the bottom of the league like they've been for a while. They've been kind of kicked around for quite a while in the NCHC.
Yeah, it's been a rough go for the Brotherhood of Oxford. And just outside the top 20 is probably Minnesota. They're still 1 game below 500. They did get the win over Denver, but it was in overtime. As we talked about, there's a lot of good things going on for Minnesota right now, but they really need some wins here this weekend. I've been looking a little bit at the MPI compared to Cratch and Pairwise, and I do think the rankings at MPI weight that home road stuff more than ever before in these rankings for determining the tournament. And you look at the Gophers, they've played 4 road games, I believe, this year. So that's not helping them in the MPI, where I think they're still in the 30s. So winning these games at Ohio State coming up this weekend, really critical for them. They're going to have to get some wins here in the Big Ten on the road, I think, to boost their possibility of making the tournament.
Yeah, January is going to be a back-to-back-to-back.
Oh boy, a nice gauntlet.
Michigan State, and it's going to be a great opportunity too, right? I mean, to move yourself up and take care of your own business.
Pressure is a privilege.
Isn't it amazing how things change? BU's way down here too. BC's kind of middle of the pack-ish. Northern Michigan, winless?
Oh, yes.
1991 national champions. My brother was on that team.
I was going to ask you about that. That was my next question, actually.
Yeah, he actually didn't play. That was the one at the old St. Paul Civic Center with the clear board.
Yeah.
Right? He actually didn't play. He played more than half the games that year as a freshman. But when you have Mark Buffet, a 20 goal scorer on your 4th line, Dallas Drake, Billy Pye.
Billy Pye, what a great name, too.
Brad Wenka, defense. All these guys had great NHL careers, or strong ones anyway. And
but he still gets bragging rights, doesn't he?
He does.
Does he still rub it in?
He never brings it out. But he's got that old competitiveness like my dad had. We play like tomorrow morning. You guys are going to keep me up past my bedtime, which is fine. We play every Tuesday, Thursday mornings at 6:30 in Egan. We get out there and just get a good sweat, have some laughs. But Northern Michigan's near and dear to my heart because that's where I got my only hat trick against. I'd never scored a hat trick growing up, and I got one. I think it was my junior year at Mariucci. We won those games, I think 10-0 and 7-0. But the great part about that is I get my first ever hat trick. I'm feeling great, feeling good. Not at the time thinking, maybe I'll be player of the week, right? But I didn't even play the next game. Saturday night, coach sat me. Somebody else got, so it's
what a jerk of a coach would do that.
No family favoritism there. And it was the right thing to do. Well, maybe not, but yeah, I guess.
It almost feels like probably having your dad coach is like the opposite of favoritism, because they have to do it a little differently. What was that like, throughout your college career? The relationship's obviously a little bit different. We've seen lots of siblings where one will play for their dad and one wants to go somewhere else for a different experience. We see that a lot in college hockey.
I think Lucia had that too. Didn't he have a kid that went to Notre Dame too? And when they were talking about Tony Lucia being possibly recruited there, and I sent down a note just saying, I've been there, lived through this situation. If he's a good fit, don't shy away. I mean, if he wants to play there, and Tony was a strong contributor, right? And, held his own for sure. And I'm again fortunate that I, again, maybe stats wise held my own more than I thought I ever would, but take good pride in being a role player too. You want to block shots. You want to be on that penalty kill, give the Bonins and Crawleys and Miguel, these guys, the opportunity to rest maybe a little bit so they can be ready to go their next shift. And so that was a little bit of my strategy. I knew I wasn't at the high end of my group. And if I could go out there, and even a buddy of mine, Eric Rude, who's coaching at St. Cloud, I think now assistant there, and he's Invergrove Heights, rivalry. But that's the greatest part about it. We all respect each other as the years go by. And, but I would try to grab him and try to mix it up with him and a bunch of players. So hopefully I'd go to the box for 2 minutes, but their best defense would go to the box for 2 minutes. I thought that was a great trade-off for us. We're always kind of trying to think through that a little bit. Normally a pretty good trade-off, but
boy,
some great times.
Yeah, that would still get me though. If my brother was coming up to me and saying, "Oh, look at this ring I have that you don't have," oh, that's just a little knife right in there. And but what a national championship game that was. That's still one of the craziest games ever.
Triple overtime, 8-7. McEachern's got 3 Gs, and unbelievable. What talent was out there, that BU Northern Michigan game. And
how was your dad during that game? Was he just full on cheering, or was it tough for him? Or how about you?
Well, again, we had that scenario, because we're in the same league then, right? Northern Michigan, Minnesota, right? Well, who else is in this game? Mom is, right? So, she's got her 2 boys playing against each other. Yeah. I actually got him once. I was on a forecheck into the off zone. I went like this and kind of went up and caught him off the chin, my brother. And not that I was trying to, but he was wearing green. He was wearing green and white. And
well, yeah,
I got beaten up so many times by trying to throw the hit. But if you can dislodge the player or steal the puck, or whatever it is, that was what I felt was my job. But Mom, was asked how many times, when we go playing, and she's quoted by whether it's the old Charlie Walters or maybe Greg Wong, right? Those old names.
Wonger, yep.
Wonger. And, well, who are you cheering for, Jan? Well, I'm cheering for who gets the paycheck. Jan's not making me any money. Steve's got a scholarship, though, so that's good. But hopefully Doug continues to get a paycheck. So, flight attendant job doesn't pay great. Coaching job, I don't know if I sent you that picture the other day. $52,000 was the salary for my dad back in late 80s or something. And again, that was probably a lot of money at the time. We got a $2,200 bonus if you won the WCHA championship playoff. And maybe that's how we got to go on spring break,
Viggs, didn't you have to remind Motzko of a bonus that he missed?
Yeah, because they had the tiebreakers on like point percentage instead of
Wisconsin?
instead of the raw points. And if they would have done it just a little bit different, Minnesota would have gotten the title instead, and he would have gotten the paycheck, and he hadn't even thought about it. So
yeah, but that was also like a $30,000 check though.
$30,000. It's gone up since the 80s.
I got a chance to see Bob 2 summers ago, I think it was, up to, he's got a place up by Gull Lake up there. And we're in Pequot Lake's been there since 1934. My dad and his dad and so forth. That's our family group there, my brother, and they got the next door cabin too now. But I was on the jet skis with my wife, Danielle, and we're going through the little channel. We went on a Nisswa Lake right off of Highway 371, where little shopping areas. And we're going through a channel, and I'm like, gosh, this guy in front of us in this pontoon, man, damn, I wish he would get moving a little bit. He's chugging along, and there's another couple in there. And finally he slows down. And he kind of comes to a stop. So I weave around. Again, it's in the no wake zone, but I weave around, And I look over, oh, hey, Bob, how you doing? What's he doing? He's stopping to talk to Reed Larson, So it's such a small world, small world. And so many good people. And I watched some clips of Reed Larson the other day from, I think it was in 1975, again, on YouTube, national championship game against Michigan Tech. And boy, he was a heck of a player.
Oh, yeah. Well, before we get into OSU this weekend, Vigs, Cub Foods. Cub came through for you for Thanksgiving, didn't they?
Yeah, I had a great Thanksgiving meal thanks to Cub. I got all my ingredients. I always tell people, if you must get something on your shopping trip, Cub's the place to go. They've always got things in inventory. And if you're looking for things for fall, for winter here, I think we're going to get some 20 below wind chills. Maybe you need some hot cocoa and marshmallows. Cub's got you covered. If you're still looking for those, seasonal apples and caramel dips, go in that produce section. They're all right together. So Cozy Night In is like a number one thing to do here coming up. So Cub has the flavors that make fall or winter, if you like fall or winter. So swing by your local Cub, stock up on all your seasonal favorites, because nothing says fall in Minnesota like comfort food from Cub. Shop happy.
All right. Of course, we thank Gateway and Cub for sponsoring the GPL podcast.
Well, Cub Foods is about a mile down the road here, if that, from my house.
Yeah.
And with 6 kids, Danielle and I have 6 kids, and we had Ellie, Carlin, Jake, Hudson, Haley, Colin. We're there 2-3 times a week. You're running out of bread. Let her make a run for it. You need some donuts for the morning. Let's go. So I got that on autopilot.
Cub is Boomer approved.
Yeah, I live here in Northeast. I'm a mile away, so it's just a simple little walk, hopefully to pick up things and get them back up the hill. So great little spots.
Ohio State this weekend, Vigs. They started pretty good. They were in your top 20 for a little while. Are these? I don't believe they're there anymore, are they?
No, they're not there anymore. They've struggled just a little bit here down the stretch. They got beat up pretty good by Michigan this last weekend, where I think Michigan scored 7 goals on them one night and 5 the next. So tough start to them here. They just lost 2 games in OT to Arizona State. And when we're talking about the Gophers playing Ohio State, the Gophers really only get 1 practice coming back from Denver.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if people listen to the availability, but they got stuck in the airports for a little bit as, the first night their pilot timed out by 4 minutes. They had a plane where they didn't have enough staff to fly out. They had another one with the navigation thing went out. The pilot said that's the first time in 29 years that's happened. So they didn't get back until late Sunday night. And then they took Monday off, and they had kind of a light practice on Tuesday, and then they flew out Wednesday today. So
and had practice when they got
for
there.
them.
Yeah.
Yep, they'll had practice when they got there. So tough week. Bob said, luckily for Minnesota, they've played a couple teams that play a similar style. Notre Dame, LIU play kind of that neutral zone 1-1-3. I think that's what we'll see this weekend with the Buckeyes. Rolex often has these teams that have to learn the systems a little bit throughout the year, and they're always getting better as the year goes on. So it's going to be a tough matchup for Minnesota. You hear the term rock fight quite a bit with the Gophers for this weekend, and that's what they're going to have to execute.
Just to quickly jump in here, Andrew Carlson talking about Reed Larson cracked my dad's sternum with a slapper in high school. Ouch. Wow. That's crack your sternum on a slap shot? I may want to. Of course, next time he came down on the ice, he probably backed away quite a bit. Or all players would. So, Ohio State, did you ever get to play against Ohio State? You probably never did you?
No, we never did. There's a number of teams, that we would have played then, not now. Alaska, Anchorage, those trips were kind of fun.
Yeah.
Sometimes we'd leave Wednesdays to go up to Alaska. And I know one time we went through, I think it was Seattle, stay the night there, continued on the next day. The bus pulls into town. We see 2 rinks on the outdoor rinks side by side, a bunch of kids playing out there. And my dad said, hey, guys, let's go grab our stuff and get out and have a little practice time. So we hit the outdoor rink in town, and all the kids kind of gave us one rink, and then we all mingled together and played together. And again, tried to create a fun environment there. But no, we didn't get a chance. I mean, that
Yeah, they were in the
that'd be nice.
CCHA. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you would have been part of the college hockey showcase, though, which was still one of my favorite. That's what started the rivalry with Michigan for me.
Yeah, and I hate it when you talk about the Michigan, because I was in that game on the bench trying to figure out what the hell just happened. You know?
Phrasing, Jupe. Phrasing.
Hey, I was talking about the college hockey showcase, not the overtime loss with Mike Legg.
Thanksgiving showcase. Oh
yeah, it was so fun because it first started at all the big arenas. You know, you're at Civic Center, you're at Bradley Center, you're out at
Lewis.
Joe Louis, and there was big crowds.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I remember you one year there was at the St. Paul Civic Center, and I think Bonin won it late in the game, and it was packed house, 18,000 people for Michigan, which we hadn't really seen much in the previous decade since they had left the WCHA.
Yeah, those days with Brendan Morrison and Mike Legg and Marty Turco in goal, and I mean, they had some phenomenal players.
So I think that's always kind of helped me with teams like Michigan and Michigan State, because those were great games during the season. They didn't feel like exhibitions at all. Oh. Ohio State, I think we still need some bad blood with Ohio State before it becomes more of a real rivalry in hockey.
Yeah, Ohio State is one of the teams where it just kind of seems like difficult games, but not anything that's approaching rivalry. I think one of the big problems in this matchup is that the fan support for the Buckeyes just isn't quite the same as some of these other programs. They don't have a Children of Yost, kind of group to follow them around. So I think that's always been challenging. And I think with, this weekend, it's going to be a little find your own juice kind of stuff for the team. And I think for Minnesota, it's going to be important for them to generate their own energy and have 2 productive games with the short turnaround, probably a building that won't be very full. It's going to be a challenging environment, a game that's going to be a rock fight, and it's going to have to take some discipline.
Yeah,
that's Dan. Yeah.
Well, it's got to come from within, and when you're going the road, when it's kind of a quiet arena, you can't feed off the negativity of the arena like you could maybe at Wisconsin with the Badgers and telling you what bad people you are. And my mom quit going to Wisconsin. She couldn't go there anymore. Even when I was playing, she just said, I can't take it. But not to say I have some great friends that played for Wisconsin too, and North Dakota and St. Cloud. And so that hockey fraternity stretches, but they have plenty to play for. So there's don't have to say a whole lot to say, here's what's at stake with these games, and I don't know who says that, the ones at the beginning and just as important the ones at the end, or vice versa. They're all important, and we need the wins bad.
I mean, I'm just going to say, you win 2 games this weekend. It puts you in contention right back up there in the Big Ten race. It also fulfills kind of those wins on the road that you were just talking about earlier. So this is huge.
Yeah, that's what I was going to get right back to, is the Gophers need some road wins for their MPI. It's weighted heavier in this new format and this new math. You have to win a little bit on the road. I think one of the things the coaches always talked about is they didn't want teams buying their schedule and buying their way in the tournament and buying regionals. They're trying to put some levers in to neutralize that a little bit. So it's really critical for Minnesota to win. I think Ohio State's going to be one of those teams in the bottom half of the Big Ten. So these are probably some of the easier road wins potentially. I told Bob, Ohio State probably doesn't have the record that they want. He's like, I don't look at their record. I guarantee you some of the players have peaked at the standings and peaked at the schedule and know that this isn't a team that's had a lot of success, but that's not going to matter. They're going to have to play their A game. This is a team that can't outscore their mistakes very often, and I don't think Ohio State's going to let you do that either.
No, they're well coached. Rollick's been around the block for decades, and and it's just they're going to keep building, like you said. I think they get better as the year goes on too, and I think Minnesota's on that same path. And I'd expect to have pretty tight games this weekend. And I think they had Penn State on the ropes. I think Ohio State or somebody, and then let them in late, and then they got scored on later again or something. So, like I said, any given night, you got to bring your game.
What's your pick, Viggs? What are the point distribution this weekend?
I think the Gophers get 5 points this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be easy. I think one of the games is going to OT, and they're going to drop one of the points there. But I think they do get an overtime win, and they do get a regulation win.
5 points. That's a successful weekend, I would say. What do you think, Dan?
I was actually thinking the same thing, but I know, Jupes, you're the one that predicts everything right too. So
No.
I guess I can't go with the same, right? But that was what I was.
You can do whatever you want. It's whatever
you can
believe.
get specific. You can say which night.
A win and an overtime loss. We'll go
Okay.
that.
Oh,
Sorry, boys.
4 points. I'm even more negative. I think it's a split. I think hey, sweep somebody on the road, and then you'll get me on board. It's just Vigs, we've seen it. We just haven't seen that consistency. It was different last weekend. It was a one-off game. So right now I'm saying split. I'm glad. I don't think Mote's watching live, otherwise he would have gone after me, but he'll go after me later. So I'm saying split, but I would definitely be happier with something better. So
That'd be great going into the break, and some guys getting ready to go off to other teams with the World Juniors, and that's gonna be awesome. We're gonna go to at least one of the USA games and in St. Paul, and at least one Canadian, because my stepson's a dual citizen, so we're gonna go to a Canadian game too while he's still in town. So love it. We're lucky we're in Minnesota. We got all this hockey to go to or to coach, as Viggs does too, and I did 12 years of that, and a couple with the boys, a lot with my girls, Ellie and Carlin's teams, and it was a highlight. And to be able to give back like you're doing too, it feels good to get respectful kids that are hopefully they're learning more about other life lessons. Things aren't always going to go your way. That was one of my dad's kind of towards the end of the years. We had him with our U12A team, and we called him our unofficial advisor, consultant to our team, because he had two granddaughters. He had Olivia and Carlin on the same team because we had come up combined organizations, Embro Heights and Egan, for the right numbers to be able to have an A and two Bs, to have the right amount of goalies, all those challenges in youth hockey that aren't so fun. But it was pretty awesome to see him get a chance to come to the locker room after you're upsetting number one team and over in the Cake Eater tournament after he comes in, puts his arm around big ass grin. And one of the best parts about that was the Andover team was number one all year, basically, and their parents bought them donuts because they were expecting to win that morning against us. But when they didn't win, they gave the donuts to our locker room.
Hey, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. I like that.
Well, and also like Hankins and Casey, he's helped coach over the years with his daughters too. I mean, there's a lot of guys. I'm not sure if Jeff Moe and Jesse Burgley has coach. I mean, a lot of guys we played with got involved, and that's great because, again, good quality people that know the game hopefully can help develop these kids too, and not necessarily focus exactly on winning and losing, as developing and having a great experience.
Well, thanks for coming on the show. Are you ready for some overtime with us?
I'm ready. It's more than 5 minutes, right?
I hope so.
Yes, it will be. But definitely thanks for coming on. We had a lot of great stories, and we're going to have more stories coming up in overtime. But a really big thanks for you to come on the show.
I appreciate it. I enjoyed it. I love listening to you guys. Like I said, I'm religious every week. You guys got great people on there. I just want to make sure if I talk more than Pat Micheletti cut me off way sooner.
No, that's not possible.
I text him, and it's awesome. He's doing better, obviously, with this health situation. Yes. I sent a note to him the other day too, and again, even though our ages are this apart, I grew up in it, right? I mean, I grew up in 1986 when Dad started coaching. I was in middle school or so, and we were there every weekend. Every weekend we're there, and tickets were only about $7 too. But
I wish that was still the case. But,
great experience, that old rink. I do miss it. I think it was a great ice sheet, and walking up those stairs, still would give you chills to today. So
yeah, and Nick Angel will disagree. He hates those stairs. Any stairs.
Nick could get on the Stairmaster a couple times. I know. I've seen that. Nick's the best. And I'm so excited about what he's working on. With the
we'll get into that a bit in overtime here.
It's awesome.
But thanks for coming on. That is going to do it for this episode of the GPL podcast. This is kind of our half season end. We'll be back in January with a brand new show. So make sure you come back for that. We may be doing some things for the World Junior Tournament. Not sure yet. Might be just do quick little shorts for the Junior Tournament. We'll just have to wait and see. But for those of you watching live right now, stay tuned for overtime. For the rest of you, we'll catch you in January on the GPL podcast. If you are watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button and get notified each time we go live or post a video. If you listen on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please rate our show and leave a review. For those of you watching live, you know what's next. It's Vigo's Beverage of the Week. It's time for overtime.
Uh-oh.
No keychain this week because I've got a can here.
Done that before.
This one's called Shaky Hands. It's from Falling Knife, which is just about a mile down the road from my house. It's a cafe con meal stout made with Up Coffee, also a Northeast area, Lotus Espresso Cinnamon, whole bean vanilla, 12%. Quite the label here. Cheers, everyone. Thanks, Dan, for coming on.
Cheers. Cheers.
Cheers.
Mine's just regular water, but
Early ice time tomorrow.
I'll still have to get up 3 times a pee tonight.
Don't you love getting old?
Oh, the aches, the back pains.
Oh, yeah.
Gotta keep moving.
But you know what? That's why hockey, you could play it for so long, because obviously when you're getting older, you're not doing full contact and all that other stuff. I mean, you look at Governor Wendell playing into his 80s or something like that. Because when you're just playing hockey, it's very easy. You're gliding. You're not putting the impact on your body as much. So as long as you still have a good balance, it's a game you could play for a very long time.
We're going to keep doing it. You know, as soon as you stop, it's like a lot of things, it's hard to get back into it.
Yeah.
I used to skate in a 3-on-3 at the mini rink down in Rosemont, the pond, for number of years. As always, Sunday nights, and then Tuesday morning, Thursday. Okay, you get at least 2 to 3 a week. You feel like you're still into it. You don't step back and have to come forward again. But I just ponied up for some new wheels, and
Really,
yeah, that's not like me. I have clear tape, sock tape on my elbow pads to keep them on. I actually Jupes. I remember I switched. Mike Crowley upgraded his shin pads. Must have been his sophomore year, maybe.
huh?
I'm like, those are small, skinny ones. I mean, I need any advantage I could get. I wasn't that fast. I wasn't that strong. I wasn't that big. Strong. I still have his shin pads to today, where the one side's completely ripped off. It needs to be all restitched up and down the whole side. So it's not really protecting like it should, but he's going to get out of the way. I'm going to get out of the way anyway. So what's the difference?
Yeah, I finally got new skates last year. I'd been just kind of holding on. It's like, I'm coaching my son, my daughter's kind of into it, but she wasn't super into it, I guess. Like, I think she was just kind of do it. And then last year she played her first year of girls, U10s, and she loved it. So I was like, I kind of made friends with my assistant coach on the girls team, and he was a big graph guy. Okay. And I had graphs that were like 20 years old. He's like, we should get new graphs. We should get them. And I was like, oh, that'd be great. I've never seen them in stores. He gets a hold of like a graph rep, and he gets us like set up to meet him. And he's got like demo pairs for us to try on.
Oh my God.
And I try them on. I'm like, these are really nice. And I just pulled the trigger and never been happier. Yeah, it was expensive. They've got like the carbon fiber boot. And I remember the first time I skated in them, I was like, this is weird. And then the guy was just like, yeah, don't worry. Your leather was flexing like 4 or 5 degrees every time you skate. The carbon doesn't flex at all. You will get used to it, and it'll be life-changing.
I wore mine for the first time on Tuesday morning. And no, I didn't get them at Cunningham Sports. That was where we grew up getting everything, all wood sticks and and insert blades, in those days, obviously. But I was out at Pure Hockey in Edina, and I skate on them and I thought, wow, so this feels weird. Well, again, if you tighten them up, they don't give it all right. So I loosen them up a little bit. And then when you're skating, when you're bending, you feel your calf, your leg muscles burning more than normal because it's fighting against that pressure, right? And well, then I also was trying to figure out, wow, I know they're a little lighter. I feel like my feet feel lighter, but I was still clumsy, obviously, the first, this thicker steel and everything. And then I finally, after the session, I put my skates together. It was like this. It was like an extra inch shorter on the new skates than the old ones. So when you think your blade's going to hit the ice, it's not yet. And it kept throwing me off when I was trying to stop a puck and stuff. So again, first world problems, but I put a cage on now because I got to protect this, for my wife. But and you met my wife earlier, and
I did. Looks like nothing but trouble for you. It's all downhill, man.
You should have her. She's the athlete of the family. She's all-state softball, tennis, play basketball. She's actually just got noticed here not too long ago. She's getting inducted to the Invergrove Heights Athletic Hall of Fame. And you're still proud of it. I'm like, absolutely, you should. And then she goes, yeah, but I was 11th on the academic list. I didn't make the top 10,
Oh, no.
Again, as luck would have it, she's went to Duluth. And then she got 4 degrees, Spanish, international business, HR. She worked for Dairy Queen. So I'm sending you guys some dilly bars sometime here. I'll drop them off. and her boss is a huge, huge Michigan fan. So if you ever look at center ice on the penalty box side, up about, 17 rows, giant guy, about 6'9", about 258, 265, whatever it is. Especially Michigan thing, he's got the Michigan jersey on, the gold one usually, sometimes the blue one. But we banter all the time, and of course he's got a leg up on us this year, but it's still early.
It's very early.
Their offense is pretty impressive, though, so far. So,
but they like to go to the box a lot, Vigs.
Yes, they do. It'll be interesting this weekend against Michigan State if they can get away with what they get away with, because I think Sparty's got a lot of talent this year. Their power play's just as good as Michigan's. Should be fun to watch. And with the Gophers playing Thursday, Friday, weird week this week.
Yeah,
to see them play.
And 5:00 on Friday, which is great. I think I love that. And it's going to lead. They're both BTN games. Gopher games.
Doubleheader.
That's going to be a doubleheader. I think our guy Ben Holden's on the call for that Michigan State game. So probably him and Fred Pletch and
good. Well, I tell you, our crew is good. If you guys watch some of those Michigan streams, right? And what Minnesota has is far and away better to be able to watch those games.
Minnesota they pay for it. Pay money to get a good, product on the TV.
I'm surprised maybe they will up their game soon. I just they're a little behind in Michigan than what I think they should be.
But it's
the quality they have.
It's all students. Minnesota's would be different if it was all students. And obviously, the Twin Cities market for television and quality of broadcast on the sports side. There's literally a great union here that does all the behind the scenes stuff that these guys are doing. Same guys are doing the Wild, are doing the Gophers, are doing the Timberwolves, audio, video, everything. It's good to be in this market when it comes to television for the Gophers.
Yeah, Rush Media does a tremendous job, and Minnesota pays for that. You almost wish that the other schools did that. Peacock does great with Notre Dame.
Oh boy, yes.
That's a great thing there. I think Penn State's investing a little bit more in their production this year, working with Big Ten Network to get a good broadcast for McKenna. If you're going to spend $750,000, wink, wink, want to get your money's worth. It's not $750,000.
You got to spend it to have a good power play points.
You do.
And again, I have great respect and appreciation for those that do all that work. And again, for all of us to have entertainment to go to and, with this or those games. I have a small taste of it on the side here with Egan, where I live. Egan Television, they have ETV, and they do basketball games, but they do almost all the home hockey games too. And we did it last week, and we have Bloomington Jefferson come to town next Thursday night. So
Really?
I'll be on the color commentary for that broadcast.
I haven't seen
Oh,
that.
really?
Yeah, I love it.
You're doing the Egan High School games?
A good chunk of them. The other gentleman I'm filling in for, kind of splitting it. He's got a daughter on the varsity girls team now, so there's a lot of same times a day or similar, so he can't make it. And I love it. And again, it's so much fun. I like dissecting the game a bit, and I know you're really good at it, Biggs. Really good at it, and
Thank you.
It's always a lot easier from this side, right? It's always a lot easier than from ice level, and the guys are great. That we get the replay. And we didn't have it our first game last week, but now we should have it going forward. And so now hopefully you can help, like you would do, help explain the plays and how things happen, not just he scored on a wrist shot, right? It's look at the stick in the lane back here, the cross ice pass, tape to tape, it got up the ice, and the guy drives the net, all those things that, it's fun to explain those things to some that don't watch as much, but you got grandmas and grandpas, you got them down in Arizona or Florida or, wherever it is all across the cities, and parents to be able to tune in to these games and stuff like that. Live barn, great. It's just, you're a ways away.
You're in the fisheye lens. Yeah.
Yeah. And we don't have netting around our glass on the sides to have to look through either. It's beautiful.
Well, that's great. Austin Kreiser is the coach at Egan, and he's a tech guy, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. He sent me that picture. His favorite picture is him giving me a little cross check from behind in the corner when he was playing. He was number 31 for Tech. And this is his first year at Egan High School. He was at Simley High School for 10, 12 years, Class A, and now he's Class AA. I was approached by the athletic director when we had a super good guy. I think it was time for a change for our high school program. My son was a senior captain last year. And again, I think he learned a lot about life. When you only win 4 or 5 games a year, there's a lot of frustrations, and you got to rebound, right? You got to get your head back in the right spot. You got to try to lead by example, things like that. And it was time for a change. And Austin, when I talked to him, and I didn't have anything to do with his hiring, but I talked to him because I knew he had an interest. And I've coached with him in the summer hockey as part of our Crown hockey program, which my dad loved. We did those 33 years of hockey camps during the summer. And in the early 80s, it started up in Babbitt, Buzzy Schneider rink, right? I think that's where it was. And then it went to Waback area up there, and then eventually to Pequot Lakes to Breezy Point's rink up there. And that was close to our cabin. So that's where it all ended up. But so once we finished that program, because Dad was getting he was struggling to keep track of some things, like here's the money bag for the bank. where is it? We're like, okay, we have to give this back to the kids, but when that ended, and it was great because we all had young kids. I mean, we were exhausted. You can only take so much time away from work. And that's when we started a summer program called Crown Hockey. And in Austin, as a local guy at the Newburgh Heights too, he wanted to be involved with the boys program, and he had boys. And again, it wasn't a bunch of all-stars. It was, so I think he knows he's not going to get overly frustrated if you don't have immediate success. He's been through both of it, and he's going to be a guy that's going to stick around. I met with the athletic director, and he said, yeah, we got these few names. And I said, well, that's a good name. That's a good resume. And that's Austin's too. And he said, who's going to be around? Who's just coming for maybe a year or two, see if they can wait till another opening comes up. Austin says, I'm going to be here for a while. And I like to hear that because he's also focusing on the youth hockey. So he wants to keep these better players that, again, you do the best you can. You're not going to win them all either, but some are going to St. Thomas, right? Some are, we left our best junior when my son's buddy went to Rosemont. I mean, they moved and they did, the right things in that case. I don't know if everybody does, but I think Austin was a great pick for that. And I love talking hockey with him. We banter and have a good time with it. And I'm really happy. And they've gone off to a a 1-1 start. They almost won the first game of the year against Park Cottage Grove. They're up 4-1 going to the third. And then the other team rallied, but and they won 3 games up in Brainerd to start the kickoff season, but more or less against double or single A teams. So I think he was a great choice, and I know he's excited, and he's a hockey junkie. Do you know him, Biggs?
Just kind of like tangentially, I've seen his name. We sent some social media messages. I know he follows us a little bit from time to time, so it's kind of a fun deal to have that banter back and forth. I've got a friend that I played college football with at St. Olaf who's got a son on the Egan team as well. Liam Thomas.
Oh yeah.
He's a senior captain this year on the Egan team, so I've kind of been following along because his dad and we played football, and then we played men's league hockey together for a couple of years after college. So
well, that first home game cost him at least $300 with the broken stick. Liam broke his stick, and he's a big body. He gets some collisions, and he usually ends up pretty good in those collisions. Liam.
Yeah, his dad was a quarterback for Menominee in Wisconsin, and they ran the ball a lot there and stuff. And fun guy.
Well, they got four kids, I think, in that family.
Yeah,
all boys. So they're constantly on the run. They actually just live down the road here, about 3-4 blocks. So we see other kids going down the neighborhood and stuff like that too. And I've been over there to their hot tub a couple times and stuff. But a lot of good people, a lot of great people around. And I miss it a little bit, but at the same time, I'm older. I'm getting more tired. To have that energy and to be able to do that every night and get the 9:15 ice time. And so I wouldn't trade it, but I did my time, and hopefully made a difference to a lot of kids. And that's one of the things we see these seniors when they have like senior night at the hockey rink at Egan Rink. They put up these big posters, a picture of the player in action and all that, and then they'll put some of the detail, like who's your favorite teacher, or what was your favorite hockey experience or memory. Well, actually, I saw one for sure. One kid said the Woog hockey camps. It's like, why would you think of that? I mean, all these other, so at least you hopefully made a difference, and a positive one, obviously. And that's something that I know Dad took great pride in. And, it wasn't all about the All-Stars.
Yeah, I think one of my fun moments was I'd played in the Mike Foley hockey school growing up every summer. And then when I got older, I got a job driving the Zamboni there,
Right.
Between, the school years. And I'd get to sub in the Foley League. And so I'd play, a half, and then I'd have to take off my skates, and I couldn't play the last shift because I had to get to the Zamboni and make sure it was ready to go. And I'd resurface the ice in my gear, and then, do all my maintenance stuff. And then I'd come back and put my skates on and play another half. And it was a good time. Like that was a good memory for me.
When you talk about the rinks, this is something that was near and dear to my dad when he got the Wakota Arena renamed after him, right? The Doug Woog Arena in South St. Paul. That really went to his heart. He was really emotional. And again, he had the Parkinson's, so he was kind of shaken, but he was out on the rink, and obviously Governor Plenty was there, and some of his old buddies, the Shenyans and the Hopkas, and these guys that have been such good supporters and following the program. And part of how that scholarship stuff started, which is the old Blue Line Club members. I don't know if you've probably never met a Gary Heinrich. He's a State Farm guy, but him and a number of guys, they used to have those Friday afternoon lunches, I think, with the coaches.
I used to go to some of those with my dad at Jack's.
Yeah, Jack's. Yeah.
Yep.
So, and there's so many good people surrounding the hockey community. And again, when something bad happens, and whether the sticks are out or people donating money to help out, it's pretty cool. And and Dad was a blue collar guy too. We at South St. Paul High School, we used to live about 3 blocks below. It was uphill to get there. Obviously, it's uphill both ways, right?
Both ways.
3 feet of snow. But one of the things I always remember is we would go up to, because he had the keys. He was part of the high school, so he had the keys to the building. So the school was there, and then they had a locker room down the bottom, and then you could walk out to the rink. So you get dressed inside and walk out to the outdoor rink. Well, Friday nights, we would go with him, my brother Steve and I. We'd go with Dad, and he's got to get on the tractor, get out there, and circle from the inside out, right? Put all the snow to the outside, and Steve and I had our skates on. We go and we shovel it over the boards, and as much as he couldn't get off. And so we had to do that. And then this is Friday night, and then he'd go back in. We'd get the fire hose, right? Drag that out. It's going to be 250, 300 feet at least to get to the other end and walk your way back, right? It's got to be a nice clean sheet. It's got to fill in the cracks just right. Get to the end, close the doors, go home. Hey, we got to get up to the rink in the morning. That's when the ice is good, before all the older kids get on there. So those are things that kind of come to mind when we talk about, Dad. And, again, fortunate that it's such a great tribute to him with those jerseys. My brother actually bought that at the auction deal that when they were doing those jerseys. Was that against Ohio State? I can't remember.
I have pictures of you during that ceremony, but I don't remember who they were playing. I'd have to check.
Yeah. So they all wore, the Wooger on the back, and so the number 23 went for sale because my brother knew it was mine, and
I wish that you
like $650 for it.
We wish that you would do more of that. Wear the jerseys, auction them off. I mean, what happened to those taconite jerseys, Vigs? Did they do any kind of auction? They just didn't want to use them. You know how many people would have loved to have just bought one, even though if they weren't that popular. They could have put these on charity or for money towards scholarships or something like that, couldn't they?
Raise money for Dinkytown athletes.
Yes.
There's ways that they could have figured that out. Have it go to the scholarship funds. Endow another scholarship with funds from this kind of stuff. That's stuff that's important, especially in an era of college athletics that we're in right now, where there's the revenue sharing and all the budgets are constrained, and yet they still find ways to pay coaches $40 million to no longer coach for their school in football, and then they hire another coach with an $80 million contract. It's a weird.
I'm embarrassed that
era.
Lane Kiffin went to my high school.
Oh, really?
I was going to bring that up earlier in the show because I've got a buddy who's at LSU, and we were just kind of telling stories. That '94 Jefferson team, with Crowley and Parrish, that was Lane Kiffin's senior year at Jefferson.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because they had a good football
Kiffin
team that
was
year.
the Viking coach too. So
they had knocked off Eden Prairie that year in the playoffs, and they got further than they usually would have because he was their quarterback, and he was a good quarterback. And then he became a coach, and now he's just crazy. It's
too bad it couldn't be a little later so you could finish the season with your team.
No,
a potential that you worked hard and those kids worked so hard.
But the thing is, they allow it, Vigs.
Right.
Somebody was saying if you just shift the schedule, it could solve so many problems. But they're just.
I think the signing
advantage
day,
of the situation,
the signing day being today for college football really stresses things.
Yeah,
because you have to
but
have.
The
things
season's not even over. How many kids did he just let down from Mississippi? I mean, come on.
I mean, they don't want him around anymore now that he's going to go to the enemy.
Right.
I saw a tweet tonight where they were talking about someone tried to drive Lane Kiffin off the road, and Eli Manning went, "Oops." Reply. Oops, that was me. So
I just, and it's even in the same thing in the NFL. You get a coach late in the season, like, hey, looks like your offensive coordinator is going to be leaving once the season's done. But they usually still kind of fill it out. They finish the season, but yeah, we haven't even gotten to the playoffs yet. We haven't even got to the league playoff, the Big Ten championship or whatever. And Mississippi is in the hunt to be in the playoff leagues. I mean,
they're in the college football playoff. They're going to make it.
Are they 10-1 or something or whatever?
Yeah. They're going to be in the playoffs. So they allowed the OC to be the interim coach, I believe, even though he's going to LSU. It's a lot of drama. Luckily in college hockey, we don't seem to have that kind of stuff going on.
Oh, we got Matthew here talking about he can't believe it's the Olympics are not on Olympic ice. Well, it hasn't been on Olympic ice or international ice for quite a while, but the fact that it might be a couple feet shorter, Vigs, maybe not a huge concern, but I'm more concerned about just the arena being able to have hockey, period.
Right. Not having the rinks built already with the Olympics coming up here pretty short, that's the most concerning thing. We had a little pre-show text thread going about this, and I don't think anyone's going to notice a difference of 2 or 3 feet in length and a foot in width. That's not a big adjustment. I think the concern is the quality of the ice. The longer it takes for them to get the rinks built, especially after talking with our friends who do rink construction, you got to have that concrete set early enough
before you do anything.
Before you can build good ice. And if you're slow in putting that together, you're going to have bad ice. And maybe that increases the injury risk, going into games when you got bad ice. And with NHL players, it's kind of a nervy thing. And there's no plan B for this. I think I read Michael Russo today saying, originally they're like, oh, could we have the games in Stockholm or something? And
what about Turin? What about Turin? They hosted the ice hockey floor. It holds like 15,000. I mean, why?
I bet those white elephant rinks are not maintained enough to do it again.
The Olympics has just become such a joke, how much it just kills infrastructure and just kills local economies every time they do it.
St. Mary's Point, Stillwater. That is quite the
coldest rink on earth.
It's an interesting one. It's got like all kinds of elevation issue things in there and stuff, and you got stanchions right in the bench. It's a fun rink.
Well, the old deck was short.
The old deck was short. Augsburg B is a short rink. That's one that's short. The Des Moines Buccaneers playing a short rink. I don't know if they've gotten a new rink there or not, but that one's a small one. I remember seeing Kyle Okposo play for the Buccaneers in that rink, and that was just like made for him. Like he was just a man child in the USHL when he was there, and like pucks would go in the zone and he could just eat up an entire corner by himself. It was pretty impressive to watch.
I was down in West Des Moines at a Des Moines camp this summer in June, and my stepson was playing in there, and it's a beautiful facility they've got down there. They've got multiple rinks. They had the main rink was, I think they were leaving that rink or something, but they had a summer show going on in there, but they had the tryout stuff going on in the other rink, and it's nice, clean. That West Des Moines area is really nice area.
One thing I wanted to get back to, Dan, was like you talked about, coaches getting involved in their youth associations. Jupe, I'm sure you're familiar with that in Jefferson. You had a coach that was very involved in everything that the youth program does. And I'm of the perspective of, if you don't want to, you don't have to. And so when you have these players that are leaving associations for a different one or leaving one high school for another, it's kind of on that school and that association to be connected, to make it so the kids growing up see themselves wanting to play for that program or that coach. It's not like because you had this association that you own those players. I think there's a lot of people on message boards and social media who take that perspective. It's like, you owe it to this community to play for them because of all the stuff that's gone into it. And I'm just like, you know what? We have a lot of choice now more than ever, like all the way up. Even when you get to college, even when you get to be a pro, you kind of get to pick where you want to play. So it's kind of up to those associations to put together an environment that's attractive to develop in, to stay in, and aspire to stay in. And I think it just puts a lot of pressure on those people to deliver a great experience.
Well, and Austin Kreiser, going back to him a little bit, this first home game, he made sure the youth kids didn't have games at night. After 7 o'clock, whatever. He made sure the band was there. It created this environment. And I checked in with one of his old players from 2 years ago. Like, hey, what was he like as a coach? Well, you know what? He's attention to detail, brings a lot of positive energy. He's not a screamer, bitcher, yeller as much. His voice travels. He's got kind of a deep voice that travels. But, the only my personal feeling, again, not that it's the right thing for most people, but I give my heart, my soul, my time, my energy, those types of things and resources for all these years as a volunteer in the youth program. That's the part that kind of drags me back on. I wish kids would stay more in their group, but part of it's the relationship with the kids within their friendships and how strong are they, and and
the parents too,
and
the parents, a lot of parents influence.
Yeah, and then this, you got the fall leagues and the elite leagues and different things, and these kids make more relationships even there too, right? And so it's to me it's hard for me to see, as I know how many thousands of hours I probably put in, and it's not for just my kid, it's basically for everybody there. That's my only issue with it, and just being honest that I didn't focus on my own kid. I hardly focused on my own kid, but on the other side, I'm so excited. I made so many good memories and relationships too with so many good people and parents that were good to me. And part of it, I think I had the respect of not just my playing career, but also obviously my dad's side of things, that people say, oh, he probably knows kind of what he's talking about. I may or may not have, but they probably at least give you a little extra credit. But so anyway, maybe you didn't want to hear that. But that's kind of.
No, I just think my perspective is always like, it's for the kid and their development and their future. And hopefully like Minnesota hockey in general, like you're just giving, it's not a transaction. It's like you're trying to help that kid have a transformational experience wherever it may end up,
Yeah.
And I think that's a big part of it. It's like you're just helping these kids in their journey and helping them develop as players and develop as people and have the right mindset going forward. I think that's the critical thing.
And it's not like some of the old time days, right? It's your 22 games or whatever it is, right? I mean, these kids are playing so much out of season. And if you're a stud, you're going to have other opportunities to play with other studs outside of yours. My brother played with the Vulcans before his high school season started, played his senior year, state tournament. Awesome. Got to be with his friends, all that stuff. I had 2 years in a row. He had it one. And then the next day on Sunday. So I ended up on Saturday. Sunday he's playing with the Vulcans again. So he kind of got the best of all those worlds, it feels like. And then play the national championship there too. And the other goalie made 65 saves, so they lost. But
I think the FOMO and the specialization is a challenging thing for everybody to battle out there these days. Because I mean, it's very easy to get sucked into it, especially if you have a kid who's a good skater at a young age. You feel like you're missing out if you play the long game and are patient. We've had a lot of talk about Mason West. I think in the hockey circles right now, he is kind of a generational talent, being 6'5" and being as good as he is in football and hockey. I think he's given up the baseball, but the running back on the team, who's also the goalie and also the star baseball player, like he probably could play college sports in all three, if he wanted to. He's just that.
Sounds a little bit like a Paul Martin day with football and hockey, on that side.
And it's like those kids are going to get to where they want to go, without specializing, I think, at some point. And they probably are going to be better balanced and
and maybe less burnout too, Viggs.
Right, because you figure out what you actually like what you want to work on versus what you have to do. I think we've talked, with Mike Carmen about this a little bit with some of that people who, when they leave the game, they kind of looked at it as just like, well, this is what I've spent all my time doing, and this ends. Now what do I do?
Yeah, like the guys who retire and stuff too. And I have some, I don't know if call it regrets, because I still have all my teeth, from playing junior hockey and then the college. And then, in some ways I wish I would have tried to give it a shot but I knew my top was so limited, right? I just, when you're 5'10" on the card, but you're really 5'8.5", you're not 178, you're really 165. pretty limited upside there. But
if you could have gone to Germany for a couple of years,
I wish
had
I
that
would
experience, or something.
But was that as much of an option back then?
I don't know. We didn't know, and we didn't have much money. We couldn't do much anyway if we really tried. But
I remember I coached with Craig Norwich for a year, and like he went to Italy and played pro hockey just because it was something to do. He's just like, yeah, I'll go to Italy and play hockey. And he told me the story about the first game, like someone was giving him a hard time, and he just cross-checked him in the teeth and went to the other benches like, if any of you guys do that to me again, you'll be just like him. Set the message. He's like, I'm going to keep all my teeth. You might lose yours.
Oh my God.
He was a character. He was the coach that kind of started some of the stuff at Shattuck, turning them into a little bit of a hockey school. He's like, hey, if we can just attract like a few high-end players, we could have like 4 different teams.
Stealing half of my Jefferson team is what they did.
Yeah, only one of them will be like on scholarship. The other 3 are paying full room and board. It's good for the team and it's good for the school to have that kind of program going.
Like $72,000 a year or something if you're not getting any help down there.
Yep, and there's 3 teams of kids who all do that.
And each year it's a new tryout, is what I heard too.
Yep.
All I know is that they took my Zach Parisi, they took my Tyler Hirsch off of my Jefferson squads at the same time that Treble was taking a few more players with him to Holy Angels. That was the end of my Jefferson program.
Wow.
Well, not the end, but I kind of want to talk about that. We had Kennedy fold last year, and they're now folded into Jefferson. I talked to Sats at that last Jefferson Kennedy game. He's like, obviously they were our rivals, but this is just awful. You had the same thing happen with Burnsville and Apple Valley. They merged. It's just, you look at all the city schools. There really are no city schools anymore.
Richfield.
It's just, it's nothing but, there's no, it's getting worse. I should just say it's just getting worse. It was starting to happen, back in our day. But we still had teams like Southwest and Edison and things like that. Now they don't exist.
Well, we're pretty lucky. From all information I've gotten is between our squirts and peewees, our lower levels are just stacked. They're like 7-8 teams deep now. And the numbers are great. Somebody did a lot of work of promoting it. And, one of the positive things too is, we've got 2 rinks side by side. We had an outdoor one before, which a guy tried to create. But now we have in Egan the refrigerated, like at Edina rink out there, the underground refrigerated outdoor rink, and it's got the steel top to it. It doesn't have sides either, but it's got the steel top to it, and it's got some protectors.
Keep
on
the sun off of it.
Yeah, and some of the elements in the sun, and it's even got a Zamboni out there. So I wish I would have learned to drive the Zamboni. I know they had like a tryout. And I had to cut a bunch of people from being the outdoor Zamboni drivers.
I had to put a piece of hockey tape on the end to help me line it up as I was going down the middle, but otherwise I figured it out pretty quick. So,
yeah. Oh my God.
Nice.
But a lot of those outdoor refrigerated, when you can attach it to a rink like that, you can run it off the same ice plant.
Mm-hmm.
And so the same ice plant facility can cool the indoor rink and the outdoor rink at the same time. And you'll have good outdoor ice from, November to end of March, early April. And it's just really good, I think, for associations to have that extra space. I know Coon Rapids did that with one of their rinks. I don't think they covered it, though. I know Duluth is looking at building a covered rink. I know Minneapolis has plans to do an outdoor rink that's covered. We'll see if they ever get to it.
Well, then you're trying to figure out the parking too. On some of these, that just don't have enough space. I mean, Egan, would have been better if it was attached to Egan somehow like that as the outdoor and the third rink, but they had to go down the road to where there was enough space to do it. And they converted 2 rinks with a little skating circle deal around the playground into still the one outdoor rink and then the covered one. And I went out there last year, and don't tell my boss, 8:00 on a Friday morning. And with some other guys, we put who's some of the guys, kind of like Lee Gorin, and went to North Dakota and stuff. He's a monster. He's just absolute monster. Some of these other kids that were at Lakeville North that were really good. But the problem was with where it sits. There's at that time of day, it's the sun's coming in, because it's kind of going up, so it's coming right below the shelter part, and it was tough at some angles, but the ice was awesome. Just awesome. My kid loves it. He's home from North Dakota State. Jake is, and he's made sure he's bringing his gear back up. He's going to skate outdoors. He's ODR, as they call it, the boys. And I said, well, you better get out there soon. In January, you might not want to in Fargo. I'm not sure. But it was fun. I'm trying to get him to come out and play with my brother and I some morning, like over a holiday break, if we still have ice, and just to get the generations together. Actually, I'm looking at the screen back there is me, my dad, and my brother in our college outfits, college hockey deals.
Let's bring you up so you can see this a little bit. Oh yeah, there you go. There we go.
I think my mom was my sister has the one where Steve and I were facing off against each other at Mariucci Arena the one time. That's the same game where I caught him with a little bit of a high stick. But I saw these, your Pride on Ice. This was again, we got some pretty kind of nice stuff. Dad usually threw this stuff in like the storage.
Yeah.
So it's got kind of a neat memorabilia. We take. I don't do it to show off, but I just have such good memories. So here's the other one. I don't know why I was ever telling the coach what to do, but that was another one.
Put me out there with Spihar. I got to get him his first goal.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. I know he's going to be at the far blue line, right? So
put me out there with Rasmussen. He was a high draft pick. I'll probably get a point if I get out there with him.
He was a beast. I had a few games with those guys kind of at their freshman year before they obviously elevated. They kind of get stuck with me, like Nate Miller of the Miracle on Ice, Nate Miller. Wyatt Smith. It's a good Rico Pago. God, it's fun. My favorite probably line mate was Danny Hendrickson, though. I mean, he is such a card. He is just at the airport. We were looking or doing a travel trip one time and kind of look around, don't see Hendy. All of a sudden, the baggage claim thing starts going, and he's laying on it as it circles going past you. It's just a fun person to be around.
That picture I showed you of me and the Wooger up in North Dakota, that was also a weekend that Danny Hendrickson decided to go up and see that series, and we had a fun time with Danny Hendrickson as well. Just a character.
We stay at the Westward Hull Hotel way back when. You went in for your tiny little bedroom, walk in, it's like a motel entrance. And you go in, and to get to the bathroom, you have to step down about that far. Just to go down, and it had the telephone, the ringing spin telephone in the bathroom. But Skippy, remember what was that show back in the 80s? Skippy, he was a comedian too, so he was at one of those shows.
Okay.
Skip, can't think of the name of it, but
Skip Lindgren.
Yeah.
Yeah. Skip. Well, you guys are just a little bit older than me, so
yeah, you're young, V. You are. I'm 53. What are you?
53.
46. So
46.
He's
a puppy.
Yeah, lots of energy though.
I was looking at that 1994, and I was like, I think I was a high school freshman.
Oh, shut up.
And I think I might have been at that game. So,
Skip Stevenson, maybe.
Well, when I was that age, Viggs, I was going into the Gopher games, and I was trying to steal as many sticks as I could. But Harry Broadfoot was extremely tight with those sticks, trying to get out of there with the sticks. He had arm wrestling.
Harry.
Yeah. It was pretty funny back in the old Mary G days. Like I had like 3 or 4 guys that I played high school with that had season tickets around the rink, and like you just knew where they were. And so you got to your seat and you could see, are they there yet? Are they here tonight? Because sometimes guys would split tickets, and then you do the hot lap around the rink and you check in with them and see what everyone thought. And
hit the ice cream down below there too.
Yeah, at the old rink. And if it was a really good series, we'd get the standing room and we'd sit, underneath that shallow roof over there. And
I had some standing room that was like right on the glass there in that corner.
Yeah, you just get there early enough. And I'd be there with my dad, and my dad would go out and get ice cream, and I'd hold our spot.
Yeah, keep your elbows wide.
Keep it as wide as I could for as like a 10-year-old or whatever.
Oh God.
I'd have my Langford Park hockey jacket on or something, or my Roseville hockey jacket on when I was older.
Oh, yeah. We went out to the Gopher Badger football game the other day in the snow. It's just so much fun to be around the energy on the college campus and the Big Ten game days. And, my daughters basically never usually go to the games, but they have a lot of fun on other areas there. But I'd look at like Max Rude, he was a freshman when my middle daughter Carlin was there, and so they're in the 17th. It's like a big, beautiful dorm apartment deal, and it's right across the street from the tennis courts on 4th there. So the tennis courts look across to the tennis courts, and some of these properties, you can see real nice improvements down there. So much change, and where the McDonald's was in that corner and the big building, but they still kept the McDonald's thankfully there. And so we had it's still a freshman eligibility wise, but second year there, we had a house which was directly across the street. I think that's 15th, where Bierman building, outdoor football practice facility out there, the outdoor turf. So we were directly across the street looking into there, and it was a piece of crap. We had 5 of us. We had 2 baseball players, Shane Gunderson and Teddy Rust, and then myself and Dave Larson, old high school buddy, and oh gosh, but I didn't have a blanket. I didn't have a window on my in my window, glass window, until the end of November. That's how crappy this house was, and I kept hanging up blankets over that to try to keep some of the air out. And it's amazing what we were able to live with, and we definitely weren't spoiled. Not like I see my kids living in the last few years there out at the U, and part of it's us to blame. to want them to have a little better than we did. But
can I show the picture of you and Henrik Viggs? Look where you were looking for, weren't you? Because I was.
I'm not as quick as you at figuring out how to share it on the StreamYard, but I was there as well for the game on Saturday, and I did go on the field afterwards.
Oh, you did? Good.
Yep.
Oh.
I think the axe is there in the background there somewhere. It got a little hectic as we got into the mix of the crowd with people bumping up against us. So I used my offensive line skills to get my kid out of there and get to a safe distance.
You were in that hoodie too, isn't that the
home field hoodie?
The home field hoodie.
Yep, I dressed.
You do see a lot of hockey jerseys at football games because it's usually thicker. It's a good thing. It's big enough it could fit over like a coat too. So
yeah, my son has grown like 4 or 5 inches in the last year, so he didn't have a lot of gear that would fit over his, and mine is still quite large for him. So he was just in his North Face gear for the day. So we'll work on that. We'll try to change our best.
Well, those are the types of things that, again, when you say I wish I could have done things a little different, is to try to attend more of the other sporting events, games. When you're focused playing hockey out there, you have to be lasered in pretty well, but wish we would have got a chance to go out to some of those games. I know, I think Nyes and Cooley and these guys, they did get a chance to sneak over and see some other sporting activities, so that was cool. But they also knew they were going to be playing the next game. I didn't know if I was going to make the lineup. So every day was like a tryout for me. Oh, that's great picture.
Yeah, it was like a snow globe the entire game.
Wow.
Really fun.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember those, like Cooley and Nyes, they were on the Big Ten Network pregame show, and they stuck around for the first half, and they're like, yeah, we should probably prepare for the game mentally a little bit more than just stick around here all day. So it's a battle, I think, to, take in as many experiences as you can. But I think a lot of CHL guys are understanding right now how awesome college is.
Yeah, I was going to say
because you're getting that college experience. It's not just hockey. It's having fun with the boys. It's going to see the big football games that you see on TV. It's all that good stuff.
Game day, flying places. There's some of those crappy. I know my stepson, he goes to Flin Flon and Larange. You keep going on the map and keep going up, and it's like where the ice trucker shows are on. That's where
Funny enough, Wally and I were just talking about Flin Flon at availability this week. It's a place where you have to fly into almost. You can't go north-south when you go in Flin Flon. It's only east-west. And I remember my high school coach had a drill called the Flin Flon drill,
Yeah.
It was only east-west. Like, you could only go east-west in the game. It wasn't a north-south game.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nope.
Now I know why.
My dad had that drill. We're doing Flin Flon.
It took me 35 years to learn that that's what it meant, but now I know. I'll get in touch with him sometime.
Well, that's the middle of nowhere. But there is I don't know if it's like Amazon Plus or something. It's a show on. I think it's the Flin Flon one. There's a actual show you can look up somehow and see, what life is up there. And it's not fancy.
You got me going to Google again.
Yeah, you got to find it. My wife and I sat and watched that just because she's a great, she loves stuff.
Just one light little one.
Okay, what do we got?
Play
The Buffalo Trace.
Play the Bucci.
Son of a bitch.
So,
play the Bucci. I can play the Buffalo. Give me a second here.
So while you're looking that up, are you gonna play up some?
Yeah, hold on. Here we go.
Oh, the twisted wrister, top shelf, where Mama keeps the Buffalo Trace.
Where Vigo keeps the Buffalo Trace.
Well, this is more PG-13 R-rated. This is more of my style, but I have to behave myself on ETV. But
oh yeah.
When you talk about like having a little alcohol sometimes, we did that crappy house that I told you about. First of all, when the old rink got taken down, we took off the wall. There was two different panels. It was when they'd have the skinny gopher, and then they went to the big gopher, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
We took that off the wall of the old rink. We brought it to our house and we put it in the living room. They took up the whole wall of the living room. It must have been 12 by 10 or something. It was awesome. But it was pretty cool. We had, like I mentioned before, like a Bobby Dustin, his dad, Dave Larson. Those are the main ones. I think there was a couple others, but they actually came to our house one time after a Saturday night game, and obviously we won. They came over because we had the kegs, and we'd have so many people. I don't know who's listening to this, but we had so many people jammed in our house that people were buying a glass for $5, solo cup, can't get through, come back to the back deck, which is about maybe 3 feet off the ground. A little, again, barely holding up, but they try to resell the glass to somebody else. And so Dave Larson, who's kind of the bruiser guy, and if you look up his St. Paul Vulcans penalty minutes, he was up there. He still have the record. But he's a tough guy. He was Bonnen's winger for a lot too, kind of make some space for him. But he went out, he saw the guy trying to resell his cup, because Dave's like, hey, I want somebody else to buy another cup so we can make more money. But he says the guy's going out he's going out to resell his cup. Dave gets over there, he grabs the guy, he's like, what the hell are you doing? He throws him off the deck. It's only 3 feet high, but it was like the guy went stumbling down, and it was just stupid shit that you remember. And luckily there wasn't social media then, right?
Oh,
there was no social media back then.
Oh yeah,
no videos, no ring camera of the throwing of the drunken college.
Let me just say, Gen X is really grateful of no video cameras and things like that, because a lot of us would be in a lot of trouble.
I had a college roommate. I graduated college in 2001. So it's a little bit before like all the cell phone camera stuff.
Mm-hmm.
People had cell phones and stuff, and texting was starting to become a thing. But he would carry around like the shoulder, like VCR.
Not even the small handheld one.
No, just like a shoulder mounted, full cassette tape in there. And he would just like film like exploits of college, and like we would get together every once in a while, and he'd be like, "Oh, guys, I got a tape. I got to show you." And he'd put it in like, does anybody still got a VCR? Let's get the VCR hooked up. Let's see if we can, get on the TV. And he would have these videos of us just being idiots and stuff. And he now has one of the more public jobs of all of us. So good thing he has all the tapes. It's like, do not digitize those. It's not going to be good for anyone. But it's fun to look back on with your buddies.
Yeah.
Because it's total like grainy 80s looking footage, So
like the old MSC stuff, and like that goal you saw of mine there too. It's like things have changed, but thank God we can still see that and show your kids or grandkids maybe someday, just like, hey, this was kind of a special time in life. And look at there's your great grandpa,
And just think of it. You guys were on TV more than any. I wasn't even close. You guys were on almost. I mean, yeah, the MSC days they wouldn't go to Tech because Tech wasn't great. Obviously, they wouldn't go to Anchorage, but back in those days, they could go wherever they wanted. They didn't have leagues saying no. You can't do home game. You can't do games in La Ralph or at the Deck. Like they went everywhere. Frank and Tom Reed, and then Frank and Wooger.
Frank was so good. I liked him. He's so good to my dad. He put up with this crap. His stupid comments and stuff. And
I think Frank always knew it was going to be good TV.
Yeah.
When Doug passed away, Frank was one of the people I wrote an article in the Athletic, talking to Frank and Pat, and they just had so many fond memories and stories about them, and they just knew what they were doing at that time was something super special. I think it was kind of heartbreaking, the way his coaching career ended and then transitioning into TV, and then just the chemistry that started to happen. And it's just oh my gosh, this is something really special. We have to foster this.
And it didn't really start that way because Tom Reed goes to the Wild, and they bring in Reed Larson. Great hockey player, not as great on TV.
Mm-hmm.
So, the second half of the season, they start mixing in the Wooger there as a third guy. And then the next year, your dad, Reed Larson's gone, and your dad is there full time.
He loved it. And he was very appreciative of the opportunity to stay involved with the program, and then also selling suites for, the hockey. And then he'd always try to, he was a good barterer because he would say, okay, here's a good, hockey game and a marginal football and a lower basketball or something, try to package it all together and make it sell, And we just booked this today. We're doing one for our work, our investment firm. We're doing January 16th, that Friday night Michigan game. Yeah. Yep. So pretty excited to do that.
Let us know. We'll come over and say hello.
Yeah. Please do. Let's stay in touch on that.
We didn't get a chance to talk to you last week. I quickly ran by you because we were trying to get back to see the beginning of the period, but we had just visited Angel, who had a client event in a suite. So we were there talking with him, and then we're like, oh geez, the game's starting. Yeah. So that's why I only kind of really quickly patted you, trying to get back to the game.
Well, Reggie Berg, he's also in the financial industry areas, and we did a combined thing with him last year in suite number 5? And I think it was 6 or something. It had a partial block view, but it was when you can, it's like anything. If you can get more people to paint, the room goes quicker. If you get more people to pitch in to pay for things, you can all have more fun. And it's kind of what we looked at doing and getting some sponsorship stuff. And I was going to mention to you, ironically, that hat trick I had, I had written this note down before, that was on my dad's birthday.
Isn't that a nice gift?
The chances of the first part being right even was and that's Wayne Gretzky's. January 26th is also Wayne Gretzky's birthday. But I mean, just to have that occur first time, only time ever, and on his birthday, I was pretty.
Yeah.
Again, lucky.
So how did you get the news that you weren't going to play the next night? I want to know how this goes. You just find out when you get to the rink and you look at the line chart and you're not on there, and you just go,
yeah. After the next morning,
you think a dad would maybe send you a little note on the door or something.
Well, yeah, we
no text message then.
No, and we kept this relationship professional, and it's always coached at the rink, and his dad home. We never talked about hockey and the holidays and stuff like that either. But it was. I think Northern was struggling that year. They, came down from the big championship season and stuff, and they were struggling. And it was good and it was fair to have others that didn't play as much. And again, not that I didn't deserve it, but I mean, I'm a walk-on.
You
these
understood.
these other guys deserve to play. And that was a great opportunity. And again, it was just kind of ironic the way it went. But, you're not going to sit Crowley. You're not going to sit Kraft. You're not going to, you're not going to sit those guys. So, hey, again, I knew my role.
I look at it as like a football game where you just beat Northwestern State 35-0 the first half. Maybe let some other guys get some look in the second half, right?
Yeah.
Which is something you can do in football, not so much hockey.
Oh man, those are fun. I mean, I was watching. I was trying to figure out like what teams did I ever score against. Like I know Wisconsin. I got to go
for game notes. Go for game notes if you're watching. Put out a tweet and we'll share it with them.
But I remember getting a shorthanded goal at Michigan Tech. I don't know why I outraced somebody. I hardly ever did, but we played at the old Target Center, the Timberwolves facility way back when, right? We got a chance to play there a little bit.
Well, heck, even the state tournament was there for a couple of years during the down years of Civic Center and this Excel being built. So
yeah,
not a great arena though. Gosh, just
Not
getting
for hockey.
around. Just getting around, getting to the press box is, well, for one thing, it's way up and nosebleed and it's tough to get to. It's a weird building.
Did they update? They don't have the Duluth locker room as pink anymore, right? When they went to the new rink,
I think they did keep it.
Did they? And then they made sure the showers were
all
the steam would stay in the room.
Viggs, you played, didn't we? When we played up there, you played, didn't you?
I didn't play in that one.
You didn't play that?
No.
So one of the series back in the mid 2000s, a lot of Gopher fans go up there. We played a combo of Duluth and Minnesota fans played at the new arena.
Wow. Cool.
That afternoon before, I want to say the Saturday afternoon before the Saturday game.
Amsoil, yeah.
And at Amsoil, for one thing, the other team's locker rooms were tiny. I mean, even compared to the current, extra locker rooms at Mariucci were larger than they had there at Amsoil. So I thought that was kind of weird. They got like 3 or 4 of them, but they're really tiny. So I want to say when teams go in there, they have to split 2 locker rooms just to fit them in there. It's kind of goofy. Maybe
just like St. Mary's Point, just like that.
Maybe Craig Floor's watching. He watches a lot, and maybe Craig could tell us exactly how it's up because he knows how every place is set up because he knows everybody. He knows everything. So
those Duluth fans were not always that nice to Mr. Dave Fihar when we went up there.
Well, of course not.
Chant his name a lot, right? Besides mine was Daddy's Boy. That's what they chant for me when I'm on this.
Oh, Craig, you watching? Come on, Craig.
I still have to say Don Lucia had one of the better lines when they're like, how can you put Tony Lucia on the power play? And he goes back through the glass. He's like, because I sleep with his mother.
Point taken. Got to keep mama.
Oh, yeah, there it is. The Amsoil's locker rooms are brutal. Not very. Yeah, they're tiny. I don't know what they were thinking.
Maybe it's on purpose.
Yeah, but then like I said, when you have nice events, it doesn't do well for events. I mean, they've got a USA, so they're probably going to put Team USA in the Bulldog locker room when it comes up for those pre-tournaments of the World Juniors. But whoever they're playing,
well,
they got to.
Would the women's UMD team have a nice locker room too?
I don't know. They might.
I mean, I have no idea, but I would imagine if you're doing an event like that, you might open up both those to the.
I don't know, and like we said, we know that Canada's not getting the Gopher locker room.
Yeah, as long as you don't give it to Canada, you're okay.
They're giving it. Finland's going to have the men's locker room, so they're going to have the nice setup, and there's obviously a couple other locker rooms close, but it sounds like Canada's going to be over there at Ritter, but not in the women's. They'll be. Oh yeah, there we go. But they're going to have their kind of similar setup that they had at the summer showcase.
That's what they get for warming up in the lobby. Who do they think they are? Michigan?
Yeah, the 1993. Yeah, you're correct. The top seed gets the choice, so that's why Finland is. Yeah, maybe you should have done better last year, Canada.
Maybe should have kept Matthew Wood on the team.
He's had a good run to start the year.
Yep, good hockey brain on Matthew Wood.
What's he got? About 7 goals now?
Mm-hmm.
Something like that, maybe. That's a lot of firepower. Again, sometimes I think a lot of
that could have been here this year.
Our Gopher fans kind of forget about some of these other ones. Connor Kurth, the strength and maturity, right? Chesley's not.
We could use a Kurth right now. We could use him just for his mouth off the bench because man, he loves to talk.
It's a chirper, eh?
Oh, big chirper. I should have recorded more video for you to watch, Vigs, for previous seasons. The stuff I've heard, because I'll shoot between the benches and you hear everything. It was better with the short glass, but you still hear a lot. And
well, in Minnesota, with Chesley also gone, you lose 2 right-handed defensemen, right? So now you're kind of got Leo Gruba and do they have another one right-handed? I mean,
no,
Thomas,
the only righty.
Rude, Bagley. I mean, and again, sometimes I watched in the high school game. It's like when you go to try to keep the puck in the zone, right? And you're on your offside. That's not an easy play. And if it's bouncing, so it can go.
Well, the D-to-D passes and the D-zone too, like when everything just takes a little bit longer to
make sure you put it in the right spot. You can't lead the guy. You got to put it in the forehand, or otherwise it's got to be caught backhand, switch to forehand to make the play. Yeah, and I think you've seen some of that. I think some of the maturity with some of these players too is. We're doing that second defenseman back. Make sure you back up when you go over there. You're going up the wall and coming back to the middle because the guy's supporting back to and then they're going to the weak side again. I think it's some better puck support plays, and at times it feels like, even last year it was like chip the puck to the other team, just get it out. And I mean, you almost now you have to be able to chip, flip the puck up and out sometimes to just be able to play the game. Never used to have to do that, 20 years ago.
Back to the Gopher hockey, I do feel like the guys are playing under pressure with the puck better lately than they were like even 3 weeks ago.
I agree.
Like they're just taking a little bit more time, even though there's pressure. They are protecting the puck and making a better second play. A lot of the times there still are just like chips and like, let's just get out of this situation and move on. But I think there are more and more cases where they're just like, okay, I'm under pressure, but I got this. It's good growth to see.
Such good puck support, communication, like you said, the guys without the puck too, what they're doing, and you got time or whatever it may be versus panicking with it, and again, it's the growth of those players. I mean, Rombach's he's still 18, isn't he? I mean, he's a young guy.
Yeah, he just got drafted, so he might be 19 now, but he's still young. Just got drafted last year.
I'm excited to see Zemer because that Denver game really. He looked like a different player out there that game, Vigs.
He's flashed really well. I think he's just got to show the consistency.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. I think, he and Lamb have gotten frustrated at times. I know Motzko's trying to downplay that, and it's like, I don't see it. It's like, well,
everyone else
into the zone, dangling all the time and creating a turnover at the ball.
Watch a little closer. I know you're just saying that. They just have to find a steadier mindset. That's part of growing up as an athlete, I think.
Well, even those other little things when you do have to chip it, like when you're talking about Ohio State, the 1-3-1, and I think they're trying to create you would have to dump the puck in and you have control through the neutral zone there. But now you got these goalies get out to play the puck, right? Most of them can do it. Now it's where do you dump that puck that gives your forecheckers a chance, right? Because otherwise, you dump it in one and you get a 1 forechecker on the left side because that's where the puck. But their D slide off to the other side of the net, and they just go D to D, and they're just like coming back up the ice right away. So I think that's a challenge.
And I think part of that is the discipline to scan the ice to see where your teammates are before you dump it. You can either have like a preset, like especially on the power play, you're like, this is how we want to dump the puck. This is how we want to have our routes to retrieve it. Here's our escapes off that initial retrieval. But 5-on-5, it's so much more quick scan of the ice. Where are my teammates? Where can they get to it? and apply pressure quickly. Rather
Yeah,
than,
make the other guy have to dig it off the boards and not be able to have his head up, right? And
that's definitely a college hockey level brain. Like guys aren't doing that in the USHL or high school, because
I think
you're good enough to get away without not doing it.
I bring up little details like that to Kreiser once in a while, like make sure you're working on your dumps and how they're, the kids are thinking about what they need to do to help with the next play and how you can potentially have more pressure, just versus let it go to the goalie, let them sit up and the D picks it up when wheels all around, they're already coming at you again, just stuff like that.
Or like if I'm playing the Gophers, I'm putting it in the right corner all the time. Force them to pick it up on their off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they got to pick it up on their off wing. I'm applying pressure. I'm taking away the D to D, so they have to come up on their backhand, kind of.
Yeah,
stuff like that.
Yeah, it's easier to make the saucer passes on your forehand too. It's hard to catch passes on your backhand, and trying to give your odds of success. But so I mean that's what I was making those notes early in the year too when I was watching a game, and it's like, okay, gosh, we got 5 lefties or 6 and 1 righty, and again, that's how my brain works. I'm looking at the high school program too. It's like our Egan team. It's like all lefties and 1 righty, and it's like I saw the guy get jammed on the boards the other day, and he fumbled. The team went blowing past him, and again, it's not his fault. He's trying the best he can, but it's just some of those things and what you have to work with and how you're going to recruit too. And again, are you going to lose a guy already? Are you not? And it's a little different when they can jump ship so quick or move different teams with the portal and all that.
It's frustrating.
Do you think we'll see a guy or two this next year from
in the second half
CHL, even like next year? Do you think we're just pretty well set with?
You mean guys leaving or
guys coming in from like recruited from a CHL Canadian League?
Yeah.
Do you think anybody's?
I think they probably have contingency people if people leave early. That's usually the plan.
But right now there are no well, I guess.
Well, Kwasnika and
technically they are, yeah.
Are local kids who've gone to CHL.
Is he in the BHL or BCHL?
Yeah, but they were also coming before
to move
these
to
rules.
the WHL.
Yeah, but
he's playing really well. And if you
they
listen to
they
the
all
availability
committed
people,
this new rule.
we talked about it.
Yeah.
We talked about Kwasnika on the availability this week. Bob hates talking about recruits. He just doesn't like to do it. So I was able to get him to talk about them in the World Junior perspective and not so much the Gopher perspective. And it was interesting what he said to me. He's a player who can play a 4th line role, who can play penalty kill, or he can fit in if you need to elevate a guy. And I know we were talking offline about this, Jupe, is like, are they going to add somebody mid-season this year because they have the extra roster spot? I would hate to see them do it because it could hamper his development. And if you take him, you got to play him, But that is a tasty possibility.
Was that on your podcast from last week, or I heard some about that story before?
I think it was on Twitter this week.
Just about it. Well, he could play 4th line, he could play at the 1st line. He can play kind of anything, and he can be a killer, been a killer. And I would think some of the Gopher fans would go, "Hey, we want this number 1 stud sniper. What are we getting this guy that's got all these skills?
I think that's like how he can make the junior team. Is he's not going to be a top line player on the junior team. He's just not. They've got plenty of guys who are top 6 power play guys. If Kwasnika makes the junior team, it's going to be in a 4th line role, special teams, penalty kill.
So
all right, boys. It's 11:30.
Yeah,
I'm tired.
I'll be on the ice in less than 7 hours.
Oh, lucky you.
No alcohol in my blood.
Yeah,
safer that way. My ice time's Friday morning, so
you're good.
Where's that at?
Richfield.
Oh, okay.
Friday. If you're looking for another one to add, Dan, let me know.
What time?
6:45.
Oh, that's good. That's on my way
to
to
showers and everything. It's great.
It's on my way to Minneapolis.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, it's a little crazy here trying to balance, with all the kids and where they're going, who's going where, and who's going to be home, and who's got to get back to Fargo. And I'm like, oh, thank God.
Early morning works well for the old guys.
It does. It does. It's not as easy to have a beer, but it's
not usually.
That's the only part I miss about the Wednesday night at West St. Paul or the Sunday evenings stuff at the bar after. Just a little downtime like that. But Thanksgiving morning skate, we celebrate with a beer, but afterwards. But there you go. That's all right.
Well,
I don't need it. We don't need the extra calories. I gotta work it off. My BMI is a little too high.
Well, we'll say goodnight to everyone else. Stay online here, Dan. Don't leave. We want to make sure you get your recording all uploaded, but we'll say goodnight to everyone else. Any last things, Vigs?
Enjoy the games this weekend. They're big ones.
Big Ten Network. Good night, folks. Anything, Vigs?
I mean, the Kwasnika possibility is just makes a lot of sense, but who sits them? I mean, Augie, he's out for a little bit.